fuck better when I'm drinking. Ride dick like a pro, throw the pussy like a painter. Pussy so pussy like a rubber all face. That's my favorite song. That's called Yankin' by Lady. And it's about her pussy. Her pussy be yankin'. All of her songs are either about her pussy, her ass, or fighting people. She really is like the greatest artist of all time. I love her. Anyway. How is everyone? I'm a little bit late and gay. My apologies. I don't have that much in particular prepared for this stream, but like I try to find like semi-topical like recent articles, and literally everything's about the riots, so the stream's like mandatory. But yeah, I don't know, like up front, all this gay shit, blah blah blah, death is a tragedy, blah blah blah, respect to the family, blah blah blah. I feel like I don't need to say any of that. I feel like it's just like pedantic and insulting to go through all of that. So, I don't know, I guess I'm kind of making fun of the situation because this might be totally inappropriate, but I feel vindicated, to be honest. Because you have the libertarians who are like the OG anti-police people. From a perspective that's like non-retarded, it's not just like, oh, I got arrested because drugs, therefore I'm anti-cop, right? It's like, it's like actually, it's like actually a point. Jersh level audio, hey, that's good. Do I sound like Jersh? His voice is so much more charming. I can never achieve that. I'm always too annoying. But anyway, what was I talking about before I got derailed? No, yeah, us libertarians have been talking about all these issues forever, but nobody likes libertarianism. They call us racists because, you know, we oppose the cops, but we also oppose just giving people gibs for no fucking reason. So, therefore we can't have that, right? And I don't know, I kind of just hope all of the police and all of the anti-racists kill each other, and then my two biggest problems are solved. Just end the government and also end anti-racism at the same time. So, I guess I'm somewhat conflicted, but a little bit indifferent. I don't know. Is that the worst take? Is that the worst take ever? Is that like the most offensive thing you're allowed to think? Who knows? Let's see. I found like a series of semi-related topics here. Everybody's talking about like David Dorn because the conservatives have their dead black men, so the conservatives get to, you know, parade that dead body around and say, look, did you know that the anti-racist and Black Lives Matter are really hypocritical? Did you guys know that? Did you know that they're hypocrites? Did you know that the Democrats are the real racists? Wow, imagine that. It's just, I don't know, like all this shit's played out so many times before, and it's like everybody's in their predictable roles. But like the one interesting thing is literally everybody has their own pet conspiracy theory now, and who knows? I feel like every conspiracy, like they're all correct to some degree, but I think they're on different tiers, right? Because you have like the absolute shit tier conspiracy, which is that, oh, this is all caused by white supremacists who are all outsiders, which I think that's an obvious cope. I think that what it was the BLMers and the Antifa types and the Bernie bro socialists. They immediately saw that the optics of this was terrible, so then they needed some way to like blame white people for everything. I think that's honestly the entire motive behind that angle. And then we have like, well, and then there's government instigators, right? But since like some of these cops who are clearly trying to instigate and make the violence worse, since they're white, obviously it's because they're white supremacists. It's not because they're just like, you know, fucking cops. You know, and it couldn't possibly be that they're working with the fucking Democrats, right? Of course not. Yeah. Alright, let me go ahead and send my link out to people. They updated Google Hangouts, and it's different, so I kind of hate it automatically, but it looks like it's gonna be functionally identical, so... Do you guys like my background of flames changing color and my Zima Molotov cocktail? I'm pretty proud of that. Let's see. Yeah, the link looks different, so I'm like concerned that it's not gonna work. But I mean, I guess for me, the silver lining of the whole thing is that when I say government's not necessary, who gets to claim government is still necessary at this point? Right? Like, I feel like that whole narrative has been destroyed. It's been absolutely destroyed. Like, imagine the status quo, right? Now imagine the status quo without government. Hey, 𝙍𝙄𝙊𝙼, nice to see you. Oh, I'm logged into the wrong fucking email. Whatever, that's not relevant. I can't hear you, so I don't know if your audio is still not, like, set up or whatever. Oh, there you go. Is the audio okay? I think the audio's good. 𝙍𝙄, I can hear all of your typing. Your typing sounds like you're typing with like 4-inch long nails. Oh hey, Rinko is best girl is is in the chat. Rinko is usually usually they always have to catch everything later, and then they leave the funniest comments. They leave the most flavorful comments.
Don't have a camera.
What are you saying? Oh, I can hear you. What are you talking about? Whatever. I don't even know what to talk about, because, like, every article feels, like, stupid and insignificant, but it's all part of, like, a tapestry. Oh, I found this video. This video that's being tweeted out.
Foreman, please.
Can you hear me? You're just, like, typing and you can't even hear me. What's wrong? What's going on? No, I can't hear you. That's really goofy. I've never had a situation where I can hear someone's like typing and breathing, but not they're talking. That's goofy. Anyway, I'm gonna play this video because it's really funny. Oh, the video needs to get on the screen. Ah, boomer moment. Here we go. Here we go.
Will you take the knee, please? Because I work for Black Lives Matter. Just take a knee. Hold my drink and just take the knee. Just take a knee. Yes, for Colin Kaepernick. And please apologize for what happened. For George Foreman, please. Apologize for George Foreman. Absolutely. Can I have my drink back? Yep. Thank you. Will you take the knee, please?
Take a knee for Colin Kaepernick and George Foreman. That's my favorite video of all time. Man, I wish I was black just so I could do stuff like that. Besides, like, rioting and looting and setting people on fire with impunity. Oh, okay, so... 𝙍𝙄, I don't know why you can't hear me. The people can hear me. Right? Oh, wait! Yeah, no, my mic is working. I don't know why you can't hear me. Maybe your tab's muted. I remember for multiple months I thought Discord was broken because I had a tab muted.
Okay, I think I'm working now.
Yeah, now
I
I
can
can
hear you
hear
now.
you. Yeah.
Yay.
Did you have a tab muted? You probably had a tab muted.
I probably had
Convenient.
like something like that. Yeah.
What? No, that. Wait a minute. You know if that was the problem. Was that the problem? You can admit it.
Like I don't know what the
You're
problem
among
was.
friends. You can admit it. It's okay.
Okay, I think I had like another tab. Like basically,
Muted?
it stopped.
You had the tab
Yeah.
muted. You had the tab
Yes.
muted. Yeah. Okay. That's okay. See, doesn't it feel good? You can admit it. It's fine. It's fine.
Fuck you.
Oh, hey, Uncanny X-Men. That's our good friend Philip. Nice to see you, brah. Philip, you're somebody who would be really interesting to have discuss this like radical feminist shit that I'm going over. I'm just getting to the part where they're going into the anti-porn movement, and it's like really, really insane and over the top and a little bit ridiculous. But no, I need to not talk about that. These are the streams that are a little bit more casual and off the cuff. Those ones I try to stay focused without getting without getting too distracted by it. But anyway, I wish I was black so that I could just like demand random white people kneel for Colin Kaepernick and stuff like that. But yeah, and then there was this issue, everybody talking about David Dorn because he was a black police officer that got murdered by looters. And like, I don't know, like I feel like you hear about the story from literally anyone, and there's like a whole litany of stuff that everybody's gonna say that's all perfectly fine and relevant. So I want to not say stuff like that and just kind of move on to things that might be a little bit different or unique to say. And for me, the most obvious thing is I hate the fact that this cop has to be black for us to care about him being murdered. Right? Like, I feel like that's, like, the most obvious takeaway. And, of course, when we look at these statistics, we know that, if you control for arrests for violent crime, you have a slightly higher but kind of comparable rate of white people being murdered for the same shit. And in fact, like, if we try to analyze this in, like, every single different direction, just the racial narrative falls apart really, really easily. And the more accurate thing would be to call it men's issues, right? But at the same time, it's like, well, men are more likely to do this violent stuff, and it's because they're simping for women.
And men are retarded. So
I know, and I've been very black-pilled lately. I guess my next chapter of, like, quote-unquote radical men's rights advocacy is suggesting that, you have all these MRAs out there who have been trying to bring attention to men's issues, right? And trying to make everything, I don't know, like trying to make things better for men, right? But most men, they reject it. They hate it. They're like, no. They're like, no, I want to go be a house Negro, be a slave to women under patriarchy.
Yep.
And I'm
They're
sitting here like,
most of the
well,
time.
I know, but it's like, I don't even know what to say about it, right? Because
it's still fucking retarded though. Like the truth is still like
it's never hit me until now. Just like how so much of what the men's rights movement is trying to do is saving people who literally don't want to be saved.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame you, like, especially after this bullshit, like, my opinion on the average American IQ is pretty black-pilled now.
Yeah, I want to believe, though, people are going to, that they're going to take something away from it. Because, for example, I kind of, okay, this was a little bit of, kind of a bong hit take. It was a little bit too, optimistic. But after the whole Christy Blasey Ford shit with Brett Kavanaugh, I was sitting here saying, like, okay, now you literally can't believe government's necessary. Because like literally just like a lying whore tried to overthrow the government, and the Democrats like enabled it in broad daylight with the media, right? I'm sitting here like watching this whole thing come down, and I'm like, you can't possibly think that this government is necessary for any kind of law or order or justice or anything, because look at it. Like, look at what's happening right now. It's literally being taken down by just a lying whore.
Hello?
But, oh, hey. I wonder if, oh, weird. So Google Hangouts, it's like displaying people vertically? I need to fix this window. This is not boomerism. This is Google Hangouts magic surprise changed, okay?
Yeah, I think that...
Yeah, right? It probably changed your shit, too.
Incompetent.
Let me see. Yeah, it, like, lists everything vertically. That's really weird. I don't know what to do.
Does mine sound okay?
Yeah, I think you guys sound okay. Does it... it's like... I need to look at the actual window to see what I'm cropping. I'm just, like, blindly cropping shit. Weird, it, like, shows you guys, but not me. I don't understand.
Yeah, like this, everything.
I don't know.
Goodness,
That's
I'm
weird.
so
Well,
hungry.
we're just gonna let the Hangouts window sit as it is. It does the thing where people's voices glow or whatever, but not mine. Whatever. I don't know. Do you guys have any particular thoughts on the whole rioting issue? I've kind of just been dancing around it in general. We've mentioned the David Dorn case, but I feel like the most relevant aspect of it is that it's literally conservatives just holding up a body of a dead black man to be like, no, you. And I think that they're kind of missing the larger point.
Excuse. Yeah, they're using it as an excuse just to act like fucking, you know, the big bad N-word in white trash and just loot fucking stores. And, you know, I'd say some of them absolutely deserve to get fucking shot. Because they're literally, like, attacking store owners. And, like, I think I showed you this video of the store owner basically... I'm not sure if it was actually a store owner, but this guy was, like, defending the store, and he was getting attacked. And he took out, like, a sword and chased them around because he was getting attacked. And then all these, like, 15 fucking, like, black guys and, like, a few white guys as well just, like basically kicked him to near death.
That was the guy
So,
who
like-
defended his store with a sword?
Yeah, it was autistic. Like, let
I
me
know,
be clear.
I heard he had a sword, and I was like, oh, he's one of us. He's our fam. He probably
Yeah.
told them that he has the power of God and anime on his side. And
He did it that day.
apparently not that day. But I guess
But
he
yeah, like
lived.
that's the point though. Like these people are literally fucking beating people to near death almost.
Oh, yeah, and that picture of him is, like, terrible. His body
Yeah,
is,
like-
just, like, twisted. Wait, Workboot says sword guy is dead.
Okay. I'm pretty
Rip.
sure that he was actually alive. He's actually alive. He's tweeting from the hospital saying he's okay, even though he got like fucking like injuries.
Maybe the government killed him.
But either way, like
This
the
is
point is that
conspiracy
obviously
theory.
could have
We can
fucking
just-
killed him.
Yeah, we can just throw that shit out there. Maybe the government killed him after the fact. They didn't like his tweets. He was supposed to die, so the government murdered him.
Yeah. Point is that some of these fucking rioters need to get shot. Sorry.
Sydney says the police and military are now completely unchecked in Minneapolis. Stop talking about the racially, talk about the police. They're attacking people unprovoked on film nationwide. Actually, there is something to that.
Yeah, there is.
But here's the thing, okay, so you have the whole thing where this, like, with the bricks, right? They're like, oh, look at these bricks conveniently laid out, like, clearly to provoke people, right? And then with the AutoZone was in flames, and there's the photo of the guy who was clearly a police officer who was instigating it, right? And, like, that's fair enough, but at the same time, if you look at a lot of this footage, it's not, like, just these instigators, right? It was the same thing with the Hong Kong protests, where everybody argued, oh, there's people undercover who are instigating it. These things are otherwise 100% peaceful, but then there's just a couple of bad actors who come in undercover, and then they bait everyone else into being violent. And it's like, okay, you're still getting baited into being violent. Like, I've never really bought into the the entrapment angle, right? Like, because usually you still have to clearly be doing something illegal in order to get baited into that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Speaking of the illegal, I think there was actually some gifs that one of my friends showed me that looked like George Floyd was, getting rid of some like dime bags of like Coke or something. They were white, so I'm not sure if that should be included into that. Like, still, like the police officer was out of his fucking bounds, and obviously, I'm not gonna defend his behavior that day, but I don't know.
I don't know much about that. I know that there's like another angle to the video that's out, and they're showing that like the cop that actually murdered him was the one in the middle who was like kneeling on his chest, and then they're saying, well, that guy isn't white, but it's not convenient to the narrative or whatever.
I mean, I don't know. I think it was the guy in the neck.
Kind of unimportant, but
yeah, like both police officers were fucking incompetent as fuck that day.
Well, yeah, and it's like, I mean, I don't know, like people have been saying forever that if you have a monopoly on a service, why are you expecting good service from that monopoly?
Yeah.
But no, Sydney is saying some things in the chat that are pretty interesting. That that citizens are being targeted even when they're not protesting. Like you're hanging out on your porch, and even
I think there was actually a video on that.
Maybe, yeah, which is kind
there
of
was,
interesting,
there was.
right? So
someone actually posted it in your Discord, I think.
let me see. I need to catch
Hold
up.
on. I think it was in the cellar. Fuck.
In
There's
the
it's good.
If it's in the
There's too much fucking Black Knight bullshit.
You can't post things in the cellar. The cellar is for lesbian question posting. It's for posting about the lesbian conspiracy, okay? It's gonna get lost there. I have a section called the library, and the whole point of it, like the reason I have like the one obnoxious
Okay, wait, now
rule
I
on my
found it.
Discord
It's
that
in-
everybody hates is that I don't want people talking in the library. And the only reason for that is just because then there's just like a whole bunch of links that I can just go through, right, without anything in the way.
I found it though.
But it's like
posted it
awkward
to you.
because if you post a link, like naturally it's because you want to talk about it, but then it's like awkward to be like, oh hey,
Yeah, if you want to pull that on video up, if I linked
refer
to
to
you,
it.
you can if you want. But we
Yeah.
could just talk about it.
Well, I haven't seen this
But basically-
one, I don't think, but
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. They just go into this neighborhood and like fucking like start like demanding people like get inside, and then start shooting people like with rubber bullets, I think.
and then okay, let me see here.
Oh, there's more.
Wait, is this
Not sure
up?
if you
Let
can
me make
actually
sure this
pull
is
it.
up. I think it's up. Yeah, I just have it in a tab here. Yeah, it's up. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look at this thing.
Look at this. They just keep coming.
It is kind of police statey, honestly.
Get inside! Get in your house now! Let's go!
Get inside! What?
Light him up! Go inside now! Get in the house!
Yeah.
Get in, get in, get in, get in, get in, get in. Get in.
Oh, God, that hurt. You good?
Are you okay?
Right on the fucking.
Not sure if I can hear the audio
Okay,
on
you
the
got
stream,
it.
but
Good.
still off. Yes.
They're fucked for that, dude. What?
Or wait, no, that's just
Okay.
me. I'm sorry. I haven't muted. I'm retarded.
Yeah, so it should be on the screen, but
Fuck yeah,
so
see
I
that?
wonder. Okay, so I'm trying to think if we're gonna try to be as charitable as possible. The explanation would be these people were part of a protest, and the police chased everyone down the street. That doesn't seem to, because that's clearly a residential street, right?
Yeah, and then
And people
doesn't
aren't.
really
They're
look
not
like-
really. Yeah, they're not really protesting on the street like this. Like they're protesting in places that are more commercial. So, and it's a lot of cops too. That's weird. That is weird.
yeah, like I guess the only like way I could even explain that is that they're like going overboard with just like keeping people inside because they're so fucking like overwhelmed that they're just like saying fuck it and like napalming the whole fucking shebang because they don't want to deal with it. Because, you know, there is lots of fucking property damage already, so maybe they just want to get everything under control. I don't know.
Well, and that's the
But
thing
even
too,
then, like,
is
that's still
like,
fucking weird.
yeah, when Sydney's emphasizing no protest, because that would be my immediate thing, is that like all these people who are supporting the protest, it's like if you want things to de-escalate, protesting is a bad thing to do, right? But if you tell people don't protest, then they think, well, how dare you? I'm a merc and I want to go protest, because like they think it helps, and it doesn't. It's like the point of protesting is that it just like lets people let off steam, and it basically lets people feel like they did something so that the government can continue to oppress you, because like the government doesn't care about your shitty little protest. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know though. Like, would they be doing this if there were no protests, right? I guess maybe that's a lot to ask, right? Like if you know, because the government clearly, if they wanted to instigate a bunch of riots and protests, like people would have to be extremely well behaved. Like it'd be interesting to see like how thin they'd need that narrative could be for them to justify doing this. But it's a little bit strange. I mean, because I'm trying to think of like what's the narrative, because I don't know. Like there's so many different angles to it. I don't really know exactly what's going on, and obviously I'm not even there. So I think the theory, right, is that they couldn't impeach Trump, so they need things to get as bad as possible. And some people think that it's even related to lockdown measures, right? They think that they set up all these lockdowns and then wanted this thing to happen, right? And it's like the spark that's leading to everything, which would imply that the whole that the George Floyd murder is like a staged thing, that it's either something that was like deliberately set up, like with like quote unquote crisis actors and everything. Which I don't say. The thing is, like, I don't know.
Take.
I don't know how much of that. Yeah, but who knows? You know, if it's all shit on video, I'm willing to entertain anything. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm already doubtful, like, when it came to, like, the whole New Zealand shooting, after I saw the videos that broke down
Oh
some of the
yeah,
fishy
yeah.
shit.
I 100%. Yeah, that I thought that was
Yeah.
extremely convincing.
Yeah,
Well, and I remember
it's
thinking it was
fucking-
weird at the time, and then for a while it was like hard to find the video. So
Yeah,
so I kind
pretty
of just like,
convincing.
let it go down the memory hole.
Yeah. But with this, it doesn't look like there's anything obvious that, like, in the video, when I saw, like, that it would be, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
Like
this
fake.
video is a little bit hard to explain, but at the same time, there's such a long history of police being incompetent that that can always be explained away. You can always just say, "Oh no, they're just like really incompetent and retarded," like every time, and like there could be video of like almost anything, and then we can always just say, "Oh yeah, but that's just the police. They're just incompetent." So there.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with yeah, and that's why people look at videos related to, yeah, Sydney mentioned Sandy Hook. We all know what I think about Sandy Hook. Where you look at these videos and it's like so insultingly obviously fake, and people are like, no, it can't possibly be fake because this is like way too obvious, right? There's like a point where it's almost like an uncanny valley effect, where it's so fake that people think, no, it can't possibly be fake. This is just how fake reality looks. But I guess one thing that I think is positive is there are people talking about forming like non-violent law enforcement in their communities, and that's the kind of thing, right, that like a bong hit libertarian anarchist would be like, hey man, what if like we just had Peace Corps, right? What if we just had that in society, and like instead of coming there with guns, they were like peaceful people who were just there to help or whatever. And everybody rolls their eyes at it and they're like, that can't possibly work. And you know, now all the people who are saying, oh, that can't possibly work, I think they're seriously considering it, because a lot of things have been laid bare, and yeah, I don't think it's that unrealistic at all. And it's also like right now, okay, so this has happened. Like everybody's calling this anarchy when this is what happens when you have a monopolized group of people in charge of your law enforcement. And it upsets me that anytime the shit hits the fan, that immediately all the people who say government is necessary, they don't take any ownership of it whatsoever. You know what else is fucking weird about this video? This is daytime. Like this could in theory be like late afternoon before it gets dark, but that's a pretty bright ass sky. This isn't even happening at night.
That's weird, yeah. What do you think that, like, implies?
Well, it's just weird because generally I think how things work is like during the day you'll have people go out and protest, right? You'll have people go out and do things, and like the protest might be more or less peaceful. I think I saw a video where there was a person like trying to loot a 𝙎𝙬. I think that was in New York, and like a bunch of protesters like stopped them because they're like, no, like we don't need your optics, right? The curfews were at 8. Yeah, this is clearly before 8.
Yeah, that's clearly before 8, because 8 would be like nearing dark, you know? This is pretty...
Yeah, well, especially in
I guess
Minnesota.
maybe just to enforce that early.
That this video, I don't know if this is in Minnesota, but it looks, to me, it looks a little bit Minnesotan.
Yeah, I have no idea where that is.
It looks like a Minnesota
Pantheon stalking
state to me.
girl in our Discord posted it, or guy, so
Yeah, I'm
I
not
guess
sure.
you'd have to ask them.
It'd be cool if Sydney hopped onto the stream, but I think she doesn't talk on the internet. Let's see. Ashley was in here earlier. I don't know why he hopped out. It's in Whittier.
Maybe
Uptown.
it's...
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, so it is in Minneapolis. Ah, okay. My spidey sense was correct. Yes.
Yeah, I wish Ashley was still in here so he could, like, cover for me while I get, like, a sandwich.
Oh, cool. I'm gonna toss her the link. Yeah, if you want to hop in, that'd be really cool.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, she's my good friend. Oh, I posted the video again like a boomer.
Oh, like in real life?
Yeah, a person. She was the one. When I did my Jacob Frey video. the one who my quote unquote big titty goth girlfriend.
Okay. Is this the one with the dog that looks like Greta Thunberg?
Yeah, I showed you one of the pictures of her dogs because she posts those sometimes, and he's so cute. I'm very peanut butter and jealous. I wish I had a little doggo.
It looks like he has alcohol syndrome.
Stop! No, this is a pro-China space, and this is a being nice to doggo space. She'll kill you. That's her son.
Oh no.
That's her son, okay? You gotta be polite.
Very well.
What are the other I found, like, the dumbest collection of articles here. I have to, like, specifically admit people that's weird. Hey, how are you doing?
Hey, tell him to shut the fuck up about
Hey, I
Trump.
wasn't talking shit about your dog. I don't know what
I
that was.
I did. I know. I told him. I said that's her baby. She's gonna come down on you.
To be fair, he only barks at black people, so he's base. Like
He's very base. He's very woke. Very woke little dogger.
Hey, tell him to shut the fuck up about
Hey, I wasn't talking shit about your dog.
I'm so sad that you got him after I was done visiting there. If I could do things in hindsight, I would have just like stayed in Minnesota for like the 6 fucking months it took for my work to go back to full time.
I mean, you can always visit him. Chartrand, I was at Chartrand's house the other day, and Tortellini hates him for some reason, even though he really likes, like, adult men. Out of all people, he likes adult men the most. He's most afraid of toddler children.
that actually makes a little bit of sense, right? Because toddlers, I think, are the most likely to just do something like semi-violent and retarded because they don't
Yeah,
know.
it's hard for like dogs to be like not afraid of adult men. I don't know, like, but he really likes adult men, well, white men, but.
Paulo said pro China and nice to doggos. That sounds like a contradiction. No, quiet, Paulo. Don't. I made a whole video about that, and I said it's not true. It's only like semi-statistically relevant. Okay.
So that means your dog is a white supremacist MRA.
White supremacist MRA.
Yeah, obviously he would be.
Of course.
How do you think you're raising him?
That would be great if we could get dogs to talk. They would tell us all the most important issues because they have the purest souls.
Yeah, but they're really dumb.
Actually, supposedly dogs are smarter than cats.
My dog.
No, I think they are. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Well, evidenced by how easily they can be trained. It's true that like I will say something that I haven't trained him to respond to, but he will still understand what I mean. And he's only like 3.5 months old, so I would say that like high intelligence there. Or even I don't even have to speak, and sometimes I can just look at him and he clearly understands and can read body language really well.
Well, hey, and a lot of adults can't even do that. And like a lot of kids, I feel like maybe they're more difficult to potty train than a dog too.
Yeah, Tortellini was easy to potty train, but that's because
Yeah, you
it's
just got
quarantine. I'm with him 24/7.
Yeah,
Besides-
no, I actually, somebody had told me, they're like, hey, if you want to have a cat, some people have like cat stairs, and I'm like, I don't like this idea of just like having stairs. And just like an open, like having like my balcony open with like little cats.
Why would a
There's lot
cat
of
need stairs? They can jump so high.
That's true. Yeah.
Like need stairs, but why would a cat need stairs? Like Fritz can jump from the floor to the top of Dan's like refrigerator in one go easily.
The theory would be that then this cat could like access the street level. Like it could just go down a whole floor to like the street level and just like walk around. But like I'd be afraid. Not because of the Asians. I don't think the Asians would be a danger to the little cat. I think that the cat that hangs out by the fruit stand across the street, that cat is a mean motherfucker. Yeah, the fruit stand cat is like the closest thing I have to a cat living here, and like it's really mean and doesn't like being pet, and it always hisses at me and scratches me, but I pet it anyway.
You should get a beta fish, dude.
All right, King and Queen, I'll be right back in like 15 minutes. I need to get something to eat. Can you like hold down the fort while I'm gone?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but my streams tend to last for like 5 fucking hours.
I know, but like sometimes I'm just paranoid. Okay.
I guarantee you the stream isn't gonna end within 15 minutes.
Yes. I'm very paranoid.
I'm paranoid about the police just random firing into my apartment in the daylight, but what are you paranoid about?
I don't know. I don't really live... Okay, well, actually, Antifa burned down my park in my city, apparently, so... Yeah.
He's in New York?
I'm in New York, so like I'm in like one of the fucking areas or states that's really bad.
Wait, can you describe the area you live in, like, in more detail? Like,
okay, so, like, it's basically fucking upstate New York, so it's, like, a weird mix of, like, city and, like, fucking country.
Okay.
And then we have, like, a city where, like, all the Antifa were, and it's, like, 15 minutes away from me.
Which city is that?
Binghamton.
Okay. What's the population?
Don't dox yourself, bro. Don't dox yourself, bro.
You don't know.
That's not where... I don't care about myself. Anyways. I'll be right back.
Okay. Paulo's calling me a beta simp for the fruit stand cat. That's basically true. One time the fruit stand cat, like, beat the shit out of a dog that was walking by.
I love when that happens.
It was so funny. Like, so yeah, they were... Oh, that reminds me. I have an amazing video that I saw when I was outside last evening. I'm gonna not spoil it. I'm actually going to get the video off my phone and put it on the stream here. But we'll talk while I'm getting it, because it was so funny. Also, the contrast between what I saw on my street compared to random police fucking shooting people for no fucking reason.
I mean, do you want me to talk about what's been going on here?
Yeah, you should talk about that. Oh wait, I was
Okay.
gonna tell my stupid story though. It was that they were walking by with their golden retriever, and fruit stand cat just like jumps out, hisses at this golden retriever, and smacks it in the face. And then the dog just like I was like just acting all sad, like, oh my god, I'm so sorry.
That's really
funny.
cute.
It was really cute. Anyway. Okay, yeah. So back to riots. Just jacked up by
Okay,
cute
yeah, so-
animals.
For the first night it happened, that was kind of, well, as soon as the murder happened, there was like kind of like rumbling within the community or whatever, and that was just kind of a normal night. It was pretty loud and like scary or whatever, but then by Friday the fires were so out of control and in so many different places that where I personally live is like right off of the main street, and I live on like a garden level apartment where like any like shrapnel or anything, because of how like bad the fires were and how bad the damage was, I like asked my friend to take me out of the city for a couple days. And so for the 2 worst days, I wasn't in the city, but then I started to feel this like intense amount of guilt because of like the whole city was being destroyed, and there was like huge talks on social media of all of the communities organizing to protect, but there was like also a narrative being pushed. Oh man, okay, so on Friday that was the worst. There was so many fires. It was like cumulatively millions of dollars in property damage. Like this gas station was on fire and like didn't get put out for like 6 hours. And at 1:30 p.m. on Friday, our like cuck-ass governor and like Jacob Fry, who like Derek mentioned earlier, we've done a
He's
video.
the worst. Oh my god. I love how everybody's finally realizing he's the worst. There's like, yeah.
They like released a press conference at 1:30 p.m. and they just like looked really okay. No, Waltz looked really like embarrassed and like bashful and just was like looking at the like podium the whole time, and he like acknowledged that we didn't have enough resources to deal with the situation now, and they were going to request an additional 1,000 National Guard members. Fry got on shortly afterwards and was just like looked like he hadn't slept in like 2 weeks and was like being kind of like indignant and being like, this is not what our community is, and just getting really angry. And both of them clearly hadn't slept in a long time, but it was just like, wow, you're having a press conference to announce that you can't fucking handle this? Like, okay, like that's really like
yeah, like that's optics.
That's like fuck you or whatever. And then like overnight from like 2 a.m. to like the rest of the just everybody started organizing the protesters because they had pushed this narrative. Sorry, I forgot. They pushed this narrative so hard. Waltz announced in this thing that like 80% of the people that were arrested from the riots were from out of town. And then the St. Paul mayor, some black guy, I don't fucking know what his name is. I think his name is Melvin Carter, that if I'm wrong, it's whatever, I think that's his name. He announced something similar. Right. Yeah, and then so within like 6 hours or something, that was rolled back, and but that narrative, even to me, like, because I was in the suburbs, like I was watching this happen in my community, I believed that, and I was like, I have to go back, I have to protect this, whatever, from these outside instigators. They're talking about them being white nationalists, but like I know white nationalists and how autistic they are or whatever, and I'm like, that, whatever, okay. But then like within a few hours, it was rolled back, and like Waltz, I think, like maybe redacted his statement. I'm not sure if he actually did, but then it became clear that, especially there was mainstream media articles, like every single source posting the exact same stuff, being like Minneapolis communities have to police themselves, like it's all these white nationalists. And then so all of our communities started like getting on different apps like Discord and this one called Signal or whatever, but then the reports of things that would be happening, there were like so many reports of the same thing. So it would be like all these people driving with no plates, looking the exact same, like Aryan people, of just like, it's too similar of descriptions. And at first it was just in the neighborhoods where it happened, which I'm not super close to the 3rd precinct, but I'm close to pretty like, major streets in Minneapolis. It's definitely not the middle of the damage, but it's still pretty close to all of this. But it started like expanding into other parts of Minneapolis, or even Minnesota. Everything went on curfew, and people would report finding like fire accelerants and things that could be easily used to start fires, like freshly cut wood or just like other things that are easily flammable. But these reports, to anyone with like a brain, seemed like it didn't seem like people were going to actually act on these things. It seemed really suspicious, but the narrative had already been put there about these outside instigators who are white nationalists trying to like independently burn down the community and start a civil war, you know? And then, so like I went to my ex-boyfriend who went to undergrad school with Derek and I went to his house, and both of us, we had the same opinion about it being like kind of suspect that like it would just be white nationalists ordered to the like an independent militia like organized this, you know, well, and to a degree that the like the caliber of it. And we had a couple phone calls at that night and everybody criticized us, and then when I came back and kind of like brought these things up within my community and like block, people were quick to demonize me and say that I wasn't supporting the cause and like all of these things, and so it became a really dangerous narrative, and I think that's exactly
wait a minute.
what
How does that make sense, right? So if you're saying there's all these people who look like they're instigators, how would that run contrary to people who are saying, oh no, we need to have our protest and our cause?
What the problem is that people are being hysterical in what they're doing to protect the community and are acting basically like police would. And they're like, these are these white nationalists, like there's no other problems besides these outside white nationalists. And it's like, yeah, but that's not, like, can you think about this for a second? Like, look at all of the reports of these things. They're too homogenous and there's too many similarities. And at this point, this many days, and it's been like hundreds across. I mean, like the curfews and shutdowns have affected almost all of Minnesota. It's not just the Twin Cities. It's literally like so many reports. It's like there's not an organization that exists that would be able to do this. That's an independent militia. Like, you understand this like has to be the police, right? Like...
Well, but I think that's part of it too, is I think people, they just assume that the police are part of like a white nationalist conspiracy, which...
No, they do.
That would be news to me. I mean, it's like...
They do think that, and when I'm like, I do believe there are white nationalists that exist looking to like use this as a race war, because like I know that because of the circles of the internet. I mean, like I don't explain why I know that, but like that's still not this specifically. The police are obviously instigating this. And like you mentioned way earlier before I started talking, the cop that was caught on video breaking the windows of the initial AutoZone that caught on fire, that was the first fire that happened in these riots. That guy's obviously a cop. He had like police issue gas mask, police issue boots. Like, I mean, it's hard to like specifically identify him from because he was wearing the gas mask, but like
he kind of looks like Richard Spencer.
He does look like Richard Spencer. Yeah, his last name
bit.
was something generic and white or whatever.
So it's like very well, okay. Derek's actually kind of a black name. I don't know if you know this, but in Barney, the black kid was named Derek. So I was always like, I think I asked my mom when I was like really little. I was like, "How come you gave me a black name? I don't understand." And she's like, "What?" But yeah, I mean,
the only was literally from police. Like we just had curfew extended again until tomorrow, and so it's 10 to 4 now. But I honestly, like, it's to the point where I don't feel like I can take my dog outside to go piss after 10 because I feel like I might get, like, tear gassed or something. Like, legitimately, like, the things that the police have been doing in this neighborhood, like, the video you showed earlier, that took place in Uptown. Like, like, usually, like, reason would govern, or, like, there's, like, a standard issue of like protocol or something, but they're just not doing that anymore. Especially with the National Guard. It's like at any time they can just unleash violence completely unprovoked. And none of these people in my neighborhood are protesting. There's not been any demonstrations or anything like that. They've arrested some people on riot charges, and there's like rumors that they've been looking through their phones and looking on their apps and seeing like people organizing, trying to protect their communities. I mean, I am also part of these communities trying to protect my own community, but I also feel like within that people are overreacting and being hysterical. it's kind of difficult to navigate. There's a lot of things happening at once.
Well, that's how I feel about it too. And it's like I try to do these streams where I just like find casual things or whatever, and it's like literally everything is about these, and there's so many different angles to it. I guess one thing that's interesting is like the whole so the National Guard. I heard, I think, that they're being used actually.
Yeah, but
like, are they there now, or is that just speculation?
I have seen National Guard members. I wasn't in protest. I was just driving on the street. I have seen National Guard stationed outside of specific businesses. But the amount of National Guard members they would have requested doesn't make sense for how many are being, because obviously I'm watching all of these streams in different cities, like within the different protests happening, and I just think it's really likely that a lot of them are being undercover just to instigate this kind of shit. I don't know. Like,
well, yeah, and some of that just seems confirmed. Like, it seems like the evidence backing some of that is undeniable. And then I guess the question is, like, to what degree is that accelerating things?
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, it's significant.
People are finding all of these, like, it'll be like pallets of bricks or like fire accelerants, like water bottles full of gasoline and stuff like that. But I mean, like,
I just carry that shit around. I just, when I pack my bag, I put my computer in it, I put the charger in it, the phone charger, and just I put some gasoline in the water bottle because, you never know.
But it doesn't seem like people are doing these things to put there later for easy access to, like, actually do harm. It seems like they're doing it to, like, make the community freak out and make us panic. Like, that's what I think.
Oh,
but then when
well, wait a minute. What if somebody
warn people about that and they think I'm underreacting to this?
Okay, but so my question though is, like, maybe what happens is somebody brings this to a situation, and then, like, the situation is getting cracked down on, and they don't want to have that evidence on them in case they're arrested, so it just gets dropped somewhere randomly because they're running away.
No, not in my neighborhood. I distinctly think somebody is setting. There's too many. Okay, so I'm on. Now there's a Discord for it, but the Discord is, like, extremely comprehensive. Like, every single street has multiple channels in it where it's, like, arson, like, break-ins. Like, it's pretty comprehensive. There's a lot of people keeping watch at all times or whatever. It just seems like all of the claims are, like, dubious at best, and it seems like people are trying to, like, cause people to be more paranoid. That's what I read of it. And I'm not saying that because I didn't think there was ever a threat. I think there are threats, but I'm just saying people are in this high stress of a situation. They're being really easily manipulated, me included. I just think.
Well, okay, so that actually feeds into the whole narrative that it's the goddamn Democrats, right? Because they want to create as much unrest and as much like anxiety as possible. So that coming into the election, when they reveal that Hillary Clinton is their nominee, she can step forward and say, look at what 4 years of Trump has done. The literal race war started, right?
I do feel like I'm a conspiracy theorist.
That's the only utility. That's the only utility in this.
I don't feel like I can say what's going. It's too confusing. It's too, like, there's too many things going on at once. Too many things seem suspect. It's too difficult to, like, say with any conviction what I think is going on, because multiple times I have said something, like a very, like, strong viewpoint, and my opinion has changed within a matter of hours because of what's going on. I don't really know how to react to this, but I think overall everybody is overreacting, and that's not a good thing. However, on the plus side, the way that the community has come together is really, like, inspiring and powerful to see. And I'm not, like, you've known me for years and we've argued about this all the time, where I would say I don't think that humans innately would have the capacity to come together in a community situation and, like, do something that would, like, benefit all of the community. I think humans are inherently selfish, and my viewpoints have definitely changed being part. Like, I never thought I would, like, come into a situation where I would be, like, personally, like, donating money and so much time and, like, all of this stuff to a cause. I just didn't. I acknowledge I'm an inherently selfish person, but this entire thing has kind of changed my opinion about how the community can function, and it's very clear that our community can function without police. And I think that a lot of people are pushing for complete defunding of the Minneapolis Police Department. Not many, like 3 or 4 like major organizations have completely cut ties with the MPD, and hopefully that just turns into more.
Yeah, that's actually kind of interesting, and there's kind of an irony to that, right? That all this shit going down could lead people to being like white pilled on humanity. You kind of expect the
that's
opposite.
how I feel. I didn't expect to feel this strongly about this cause, but the way that my neighborhood is organized and like kept in like just every need that anybody has been met, and it's been so just like almost brings you to tears. It's been like such a coordinated effort, and people really seem to care. And initially when this was happening, I was like, oh, well, they're like saying they will clean it up, but they won't. But then the next day, like the entirety of these, like, I mean, multiple buildings on a street would be burning. Like on Lake Street, I think probably over 5 buildings were on fire. These things would be completely cleaned up by volunteers the next day. Like the effort people are showing is just like really commendable. I think I'm really proud of the community. I was initially in the suburbs, but I like felt compelled to come back and help because it's just like that strong of a community feeling, I guess.
Yeah, well, and that's pretty cool. I mean, I'm trying to think about it, because that's the thing too, is that like if people go out to do a protest is kind of like a lot of marching around, a lot of shouting and sign waving, and then often people just leave a mess. But then this more like community style activism is like people addressing real problems and cleaning things up. And actually, we saw some of that in Hong Kong, right? Where like
compared to the Hong Kong
yeah, but before the protests happened, right? Like Hong Kong is like the cleanest place ever. It's like pristine. Everything's really, it's very idyllic and very nice and very beautiful. And like it was like night and day. Any bit of graffiti was like really weird and especially out of place here. And then there was a whole contingent of people who, in the wake of the protest, it was kind of an apolitical movement, at least as far as I could tell, where they were like, we just want to clean things up and have things be how they were before, you know?
So there's the Hong Kong protest where people are suspicious that police in that instance are also instigating violence, correct?
Yeah, that's part of it, is that you have like these like major wide scale protests, right? And then what ends up happening is like towards the end of it, you just kind of bait a few people into smashing some windows or doing something crazy. And then it creates a pretense for like, oh look, this protest wasn't peaceful. But like that was kind of the insane thing about it, is we had protests that had like millions of people involved in it that were like totally peaceful, and like not just peaceful, but like they picked up after themselves and were totally clean about it. But I mean,
would you say that
really all changed?
What happened with that? I just stopped paying attention because COVID got so serious here. Like,
well, I mean, honestly though, I don't think it all belongs on instigators. I do think that.
What happened? Are people still demonstrating, or like what happened? Was there a
so what often happens is like every monthly anniversary of the time when like the police in riot gear came on and like started what was it? They started cracking down on people who were trying to leave from a protest on the MTR, and it's footage that's just like very one-sided, and it's like you watch these people at protests trying to defend themselves with umbrellas, and it's like, this isn't a fucking MMO. Like, you're not like it's like really awful to watch.
Is it illegal to conceal and carry there?
Oh yeah, there's no guns here. Absolutely none.
Only police have guns?
Only police, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think they're pointing like loaded guns at people. It'd be like rubber bullets, tear gas. But often they've been times when they've deployed tear gas like in the MTR stations here, and like the thing with tear gas is you're not supposed to use it in like indoors or in places that are like confined.
Yeah.
You know, and they beat up a pregnant woman and like stuff like that, right? It's just like
that happened here, not in Minneapolis, but in the protest in America in a different city, they ran over a pregnant woman and killed her.
Yeah, no, I think I saw something about that. Maybe I can find an article about it. But basically what happens is like every like monthly anniversary of some major event, there'll be some people who try to demonstrate. And I think recently the police really cracked down on a lot of protesters because
Was there any reform, or was there like?
as far as legally, no, things have. Well, so some things. Let's see. What had happened last year is the extradition bill ended up getting, I think, suspended and it hasn't been approved. Right.
Last year, what? Like the end of last.
Well, that
Okay.
was the main thing, right? But it's not totally dead. With the way their system works, it's kind of like on the table and still could, in theory, be approved at some point. And they want like it to be absolutely shut down, which I don't know. I don't know how realistic that is. I mean, even if they shut it down, they could just, in theory, bring forth a new one eventually. But now the new news this year is China basically made an announcement saying that they're going to that they're going to basically like act in their national interest towards Hong Kong. It was somewhat vague, right? But this was the thing that led in America of them saying that they're no longer considering Hong Kong an autonomous zone and everything.
Well, but to expire naturally though, like 2023 or something.
No, it's not set. No. The two systems, one party, or two systems, one government thing. That's supposed to go into 2030 something.
Oh,
And that's the
23rd.
Yeah,
I thought that
that's
was really.
that's the
Okay.
part of it that's really weird because I'm sitting here thinking like from China's perspective, why even bother with all this shit? Like just wait it out. Just wait 10 years or whatever, you know?
I thought it was
Um,
much sooner for some reason. How do you feel like the police have responded, I guess? Like, has there
well,
been like a national military response to these protesters, or like how violent did it ever get? I
Well,
mean, I
here's
remember
the
when you
thing.
were in
We
the
have
thick of it.
like we have a lot of riot police, and if there's any suspicion that some kind of protest is gonna go down, then you'll see some of them kind of walking around. And I've seen like a few things here and there. Like I remember one time I was walking home from work, and I just saw these two guys like running, and I was like, oh, that's really suspicious. Like they're not jogging. They weren't carrying hammers with them, but it was
Yeah.
almost as suspicious. And like they like ran and like jumped over like a ledge into some bushes, and then these police and riot gear were all chasing them also. And then like I just kind of walked past the whole thing. I kept my head down, like I have nothing to do with this, right? And I was kind of looking back, and I saw the police kind of like looking over the ledge and trying to like doing that or whatever. And I thought, oh, this is really funny because like the police can't follow them because they're wearing all their gear, right? So I don't know if those guys got like caught. I don't know what they did. They're probably vandalizing something or something stupid. But
Has there been a lot of instances of arson? And then also another question is how many miles, or I guess kilometers, is your walk from work to home?
well, I don't know. I don't know kilometers because I'm American. That's too difficult.
Yeah, but when GPS or whatever say that now?
Well, I don't use my data. When I go outside, I only use Wi-Fi. So I download everything from YouTube and then listen to it. Cause I'm like a boomer. Cause I go to like the China
I
mobile
guess I know
shop
how fast you walk, like
to
how
get
many
my
minutes.
phone plan, and then they can't explain things in English, and it gets really confusing and frustrating. And like I could use Mandarin in theory, but they don't necessarily speak that, right? So it's
Yeah.
like so I'm just like, okay, what's the prepaid thing? And then I'm like, I'm just gonna use as little of this as possible. I think there's a way for me to get unlimited data if I like have a real Asian person just like explain it to them, like, hey, here's my white person friend. They're a boomer and they're retarded. Like this is what they need. But like sometimes basic shit trying to explain it is just like too much. And like the thing is that even if like 80% of the time, like you know the transaction is going to work out okay, it's like not worth it for that 20% of the time when it's like a hassle and then you hold up a line or whatever. So I have a system. I pay for everything in cash, you know. But anyway, no, my walk is like 30 minutes or so.
Okay. So
Yeah,
like probably like
it's a nice walk.
or
It's,
two.
yeah, so it's not bad at all. Weeaboo Jones in the chat asked, "Who is the woman you're talking to? Is it Natty?" No, you're not Natty. Natty has like a totally different accent. Natty has like an English accent.
Accent.
You're American.
And Hag Hag.
No, Weeaboo Jones, you're the one. You're the one who commented on our Jacob Fry video. Oh, is that your big titty goth girlfriend? This is who I'm talking to.
So.
Which, yeah, I think that's a compliment. I feel like isn't that's the apex of femoid of femoid value, right? It's like, yeah, the big titty goth chick. That's what you want to be.
Yes, I accept this.
I don't.
With arson though, were there a lot of things set on fire?
Not so much. So the thing is like we've had certain shops and certain businesses that have gotten like smashed out and destroyed. I don't think I've seen a lot of like actual fires set.
What's the worst damage then? Is it just people using, because you guys can't have guns, so it's just
Yeah,
like,
it's people use people will take bricks from the street and throw them through and like smash it up with that. And it's always specifically businesses that are like pro China or like Chinese owned. Like Bank of China gets targeted, Best Mart, Maxim's Cakes. I remember it was really funny. I knew that like Maxim's bakeries were getting targeted, and then like me and my friend were gonna go like watch. I think this was when I was gonna watch an opera, like The Merry Widow or something. And like I was there a little early, and I was like, oh, there's a little shop here. There's Maxim's Cafe, and I'm like, I'm gonna like have some soup and a beer or whatever before watching the show. And like messaged him like, oh hey, have you gone to this place? This place is really good. And he was like, no, I don't want to go to Maxim's. And I was like, oh, this is the same Maxim's. And he was like, how did you not know? And I'm like, well, one of them's Maxim's Cafe, and this is Maxim's like bakery or whatever. And I didn't realize they were the same. And then in hindsight, I'm like, I guess it's like the same name.
well, that happened here. Wendy's just got like outed for donating like $400,000 to Trump or whatever, and so people are boycotting it now.
Oh yeah, that was an article I had about Wendy's.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, okay, so it's a little bit more convoluted than that though. Here, I'll pull it up. But actually, wait. So first,
Yeah,
remember when I mentioned that video that I saw outside?
Is it
Oh my god, it's the whole thing. So these. Wait, okay, it's loaded on the side. I want to. Whatever. I'm just gonna have it on the side. This little Asian couple. They're so cute, and these are adults, right? They're walking their little trucks down the street. They're walking their little trucks down the street together. And like it was really cute. There was a point when their two trucks were like about to crash into each other, and yeah, and then they stopped and looked at each other, and then like the gentleman left them with his truck. So, yeah, this couple here, these adults, and they're walking their little trains. Not trains, sorry. These are like the trucks. They're little semi trucks. They're just walking around. And at first I thought, oh, I wonder if they're like trying to sell these, right? They're walking around with them and they're seeing if people are gonna ask them about them. But no, I think these guys, they're just like walking their little remote control cars around.
Sorry, I was getting headphones.
So I just like I didn't want to talk to them, but I wanted to report them on the internet.
To be honest, everything you do is creepy.
I know, right? I can't avoid it. But it's never nefarious, it's just a way of being.
I agree. It's
Yeah. So I think people should just. But yeah, that's my street. Is oh, look at them, they're walking their semi trucks.
That's really cute.
It's super cute. I like it a lot. Oh, Alright, back to the items. I have serious business. I took the Hangouts thing off the screen because it's not doing the one thing that I like Hangouts for, which is like highlighting people's names as they speak. It's just like not doing that. So.
Oh, do you want to hear about the updated charges and reform stuff that has been happening?
What's that? Is this for the
Okay, so
police?
Derek Chauvin, the cop who was kneeling on George Floyd's neck, his charges have been updated to second-degree murder, and the other 3 cops have been charged with accessory.
Okay.
And then, yeah, also I don't know if you knew this, but the state of Minnesota has filed civil rights charges against the Minneapolis Police Department, and there's now like a statewide investigation on their practices. That happened yesterday.
Interesting. Well, because I feel like they
Yeah,
have
there's
to.
been Yeah, there's been one specific city council member tweeted on Twitter. I'll pull up his name specifically. He said something pretty radical that surprised me. His name is Steve Fletcher. He is saying that people on the city council are working on finding out what it would take to disband the MPD and start fresh with a community-oriented, nonviolent public safety and outreach capacity, which is pretty radical in my opinion.
That kind of is. And I guess that sounds good. Because in theory you go for like what the UK has, right, where their police don't have any real weapons.
Yeah, but
they just roll up and ask if you got a license, and they have some.
I don't want to
stern
be
words
anything
for
like
you.
the UK.
Well,
I don't want to be anything like them.
I know, right? No, this is a thing that I try to explain to people. They're like, "Why do you hate people in Britain so much?" And I'm like,
"What do you mean?"
And I'm just like, "What do you mean? Why do I hate?" Like,
I can write a dissertation on this.
Why do I have to justify this? My number one thing is I'm like, their Eurovision entries are terrible.
Oh yeah, how sad are you that Eurovision is canceled?
I'm pretty bummed, to be honest. Did you see Russia's entry?
Why would I have if I'm not with you personally?
I know, right? Yeah, you're only there on.
But you know I love Russia.
Okay, but no, yeah, right. No, Russia had a really fucking good one. Like, it's just
okay. Send it to me. I'm sure I'll love it.
You know,
or just play it.
I'll play a little bit.
Just
of it
play it.
I think I can play at least 30 seconds of it. Devin Tracy got away with it, so that means. Let me see. Little Big Uno. It's so good. Oh yeah. Our friend in the chat says Iceland should have won. I think Iceland actually probably should have won. This would have been their year, and the irony is like Iceland is consistently really, really good. But just never wins because of because everyone votes East Bloc because Eastern European the entries are better, but no Russia disavow. No, Paulo, this will change your opinion of Russia. This like fucking I don't know if it's like some mariachi shit, whatever they're fucking on. Okay, so if I play it, you're gonna have to watch it on the stream, because I guess I could probably share it through Hangouts, but I'm not, because that's too hard. I'm just gonna play like 30 seconds of this.
It's gonna take more than one margarita. I'm gonna call you my sweet señorita. I'm gonna leave out the night on you, yeah. All you have to do is to be ready for some action now. To be ready for some action now.
Anyway, that's like my favorite fucking song. Okay, it's so good because everything about what they're wearing and the dude with the black lipstick and like the chubby guy in his tracksuit doing his little dance on the side, like literally.
I already love this.
Every single element of it is just perfect.
I love it.
It's so good. Yeah, if you want to have like a good afternoon, yeah, just like rip the bong and fucking load up every Little Big video. Because honestly, this might be their worst song, and it's so
I don't
good.
have weed, but I have vodka, so.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I'm drinking.
Yeah.
What I love is that the Circle K sells these like really shitty, cheap like black beer stouts, And I used to
That
drink them
sounds
out
so
of a
good.
wine glass, but then I dropped all of my glass. It's like anything glass I have, I end up dropping it. And then like over the week, I just like find random shards everywhere. So I'm just like, I'm constantly playing the fucking
Derek,
hot
just
lava
clean
game.
it up when it happens.
It's too hard. No, I do. I clean it so well, and then it's just like
Derek, you don't clean anything well. What are you talking about? You're
some
talking
random
to me.
shard. Some random shard just like jumps into the corner and deflects off of 16 walls I don't even have, and like
Why don't you get a
ends up in, like,
Roomba for your
random
10-foot
spot.
square room?
I know, it's too hard. It's too hard.
R.I.P.
Oh, it sounds like Moto's back because it sounds like literal fucking hell opened.
That sounds like an idiot.
Oh, hi.
Hey, now I have to tell
Are
you
you that
to
salty?
be polite.
No,
Okay?
I'm not. I'm just that much of a bitch.
Oh.
I have nothing against you.
No,
I'm
you
just
guys, no,
rude.
you guys would get along, I think.
Yeah.
Probably.
I just act like a dickhead because that's how I meet people, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, like, that's cool with me. I'm totally fine with that.
I have
What
nothing
did you
against your
get?
doggo.
I have nothing against you either.
Wait,
The vibes are good.
yeah. Hold on. Yeah, what I got was basically I went to Dunkin' Donuts to try and get like a sausage, egg, and cheese sandwich because
For
they're
a
amazing.
meal?
Like 2 of them, and then their oven was like broken or some shit. So I just opted to go to Wendy's and get a keto baconator.
That sounds
That's just-
amazing.
Yeah, basically all you do is
Wendy's has a keto baconator. They call it.
You just
that?
get it
Yeah,
with
basic-
lettuce, you retard. Like,
yeah, you fucking
What? No, that's not. Oh my god, no! Because I've been bitching all year. I've been like, how come I can't fucking go to McDonald's and check a box that
You
says
can.
keto?
You're just not that much of a Karen. You have to like demand special shit.
yeah.
Oh, I
you
should
just
learn
gotta go.
Cantonese just for the purpose of yelling at Asians.
Also,
and
I don't know
telling
why
them
you
that
would
I
have a
want
problem with
lettuce
demanding
instead of
special
bread.
shit because when I check out with anywhere with you, you're like, oh, my change math makes no sense. Like, stand here while I take out all of my change and all of my wallet and give me
No,
this amount
that is-
back.
That
And
is
it's- that's
slander.
what you do.
That is slander. No.
No, it's not.
No, that's not true. Change math is very
It's pretty
simple. You're just bad at math, so it seems like
It's
like
the male
wizardry
version
to
of a
you.
Karen, is what you do.
Okay,
But
I
yeah,
was explaining this on Jay Willie's stream that people think pennies are worthless.
I'm
but
gonna
they're
text
not.
it to agree with me.
They're not worthless. Pennies are useful in 20% of all cash
Well,
transactions.
you do this to minority cashiers who don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and they
All
think
they
you're trying to
have
like
to do
scam
is-
you.
All they have to do is put the amount of money into the machine and the math is done, okay?
Derek, it's too complicated. It would be like less annoying for you to just, I don't know,
Well,
just
pennies.
give them a bigger bill.
No,
I mean,
okay,
I'm actually a
I have a
cashier,
bill
and I barely
story,
use
actually.
pennies.
You know how people don't accept ripped bills? Right? And, like, this was a thing where I go to the 7-Eleven and I try to hand them a 50 and they're like, the corner's ripped, I'm not taking this. And I was like, fuck you! I was, like, so angry at the moment, and then I realized, like, okay, I guess that's, like, a rule or whatever. And then it's like a game.
unless it's ripped in half, they have to take it.
No, this one, the corner was ripped, so he was like, fuck you, you're up to
Where
something.
was this?
At the
That's not
7-Eleven. At the 7-Eleven.
That's
I know,
too
that's what I
vague.
thought. That's what I thought. And then I was telling my Asian friends.
Was
here,
this
I
in
was
Hong
like,
Kong or here?
Yeah, here in Hong Kong. So when I say a 50, that's like, you know.
Okay, well, Hong Kong sucks.
It's like a
I don't know.
It's like a $5 bill equivalent, right? So it's not like a big bill. So anyway, I tried to So anyway, I was like explaining to them. I was like, that's bullshit. Like, just the corner was ripped, and like somebody handed me the bill, and I didn't think to be like, fuck you, this is not legal tender because the corner's ripped, right? Because I didn't do that. I just took the 50 because it's like it's the same. Like,
Do you want me
now
to
it's
read it
like
out
a
loud?
game. It's like a
Hey,
game
hey, hey.
of tag, right? It's like tag, you're it. You have the shitty ripped bill, and then I have to like go from place to place and be like try to sneak it to them. But,
Derek, do you want me to read out loud the messages from my community watch right now about white supremacists?
Oh, let's get into that. But
Wait, what?
there was something else I wanted to say. No. I'm sorry. Before we leave this topic, okay. I won't sell you on change math in general, but there's one principle of change math that is
Derek,
an
ew.
unbeatable, simple argument that anybody gets. Okay, if your change ends, right, if what you have to pay ends in either a 1 or a 6, 100% of the time, if you add the penny, that will make your change more even.
Again, the primary criticism I have of you as a person the entire time we've known each other, over 10 years, is that you overestimate the cognitive abilities of the population in general.
Oh,
I've
fuck.
consistently said this the whole time.
I don't know. I think
I don't
you
think
think
I'm
most
asking
people are
much,
retards.
though. I don't, you're
But
right,
I
but
know,
I'm asking
I
so
know
little.
that you think that, but you just don't. you, dude. I don't think you get how dumb people can be, including me. Like,
Well, it's also unfair because I've had my own dumb moments, right? I'm just like,
dude, it's not
That's
fair
true.
because you do live a very privileged lifestyle.
well, I mean, especially now I do. It's lovely living here.
Yeah, but I mean, the best example I have of this is every time you've ever crashed a car, which is like, what, 5 times? How dumb people can be. Including
Oh,
me.
Sirius
Like,
is Rory. I didn't realize that was you.
Wait, you've crashed a car
Wait,
5
what?
times?
Really?
No, I think, yeah, I didn't realize that was the... Well, people with multiple names on different platforms is hard.
Okay, well, yeah.
You know how
here
people
I
are
am.
bad
Hi.
with names? You know how people are bad with names, and that's a thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so now on the internet, it's like, oh, I got a name on Facebook, a name on YouTube, a name on Twitter, and a name in Discord. And then my name in Discord I change all the time. Like, Toto does that all the time.
Yeah.
okay,
I'm
well,
not being
Rory, agree with me that Derek doing
Hey,
change
what's
math
up,
is the
Sydney?
worst fucking shit ever. Hey, how are
I
you?
actually cannot. I agree. Oh, good. How are you, Sydney? I actually cannot agree with your position. I am on Derek's side for this one.
Yeah, but
But
you're
there was
autistic.
a change math.
But I'm autistic. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, no, that's my entire cult. My cult is all gay autists. So if
Pretty
you're in the
much,
chat, if you're listening, if you're on the stream, you're one of 2 things, minimum.
I'm saying that a normal person, their like social whatever, is not going to appreciate this thing.
Right.
This thing
Not
being...
that I'm saying I'm a normal person. Let me be clear.
Yeah, Fleegan says I
Wait,
only have 2
Derek,
names
how
on the
the fuck-
internet, and I was looking at your name, and I was like, for some reason I was blanking. I was like, it's Fleegan, and it just like didn't come to me. It just never happened before.
I'm more
Also,
concerned with the fact
Fleegan,
that you crashed a car 5
toss
times.
Wait, you crashed your car 5 times? I think I
No,
crashed
you
my car
crashed.
exactly
It wasn't 5
times.
times. It was at least. Well, I was in there twice, and then it was.
I've only
Yeah,
crashed my car
Twice?
once.
Oh,
and
that's
it was my fault.
right. Yeah.
Well, the last time it happened, I was totally to blame, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the
I'm just
last time I
the
crashed
fact
a
that your
car,
parents didn't
I
really
totaled the
replace it.
car. No, that was
I
when
know,
I
but
totaled the car, and then I saw part of the car was in the highway, and I felt bad because that was blocking a
I
lane of
know that you
traffic,
did,
so I
but
grabbed it with my bare
irregardless-
hand, and I burned my hand like
Irregardless of the
ludicrously.
circumstances, your parents replaced it within 6 hours.
Okay,
Like,
no, but that wasn't like my parents replaced it. That was like you total out the car, and then all of the money that was got from that.
Derek, do you
was
remember when
equivalent to
I
the
dropped out of
value.
Hamlin and you asked if you should drop out of Hamlin, but your parents were paying for your entire degree, and so money wasn't an issue for you? Like...
No, yeah, exactly. I was very lucky. And well, honestly, though, had that not been the case, I would have chosen like a real.
I'm so
degree.
glad you didn't. Like...
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight,
I'm not
though,
trying to criticize you, I'm just saying.
No, anybody else would have probably done exactly what I did. So.
I'm very glad that your parents paid for your degree.
You know what though? You could totally get an ESL certificate and then do what I do.
Maybe. I don't know what to do anymore. You know, I'm trying to pay off... I still have student loans from Hamlin. Like, a lot of grants and scholarships covered a lot of it, but I still have about $17,000. I just consolidated it.
Nice. Well, that's because that's a lot less than like what 1 year usually costs.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
a like a reasonable amount. I can pay it off in a couple of years, but I also... I don't know. Do you want me to read this message from my
Rory,
community watch?
Rory, if you go outside for a smoke, I guess you probably shouldn't have to mute yourself. I guess the only risk would be if Gizmo wanders into the room and starts screaming, which would be really funny.
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
Can I read this out loud?
You're on your phone. Oh, okay. So you could take the phone out.
Yeah. This is from my street, like, community watch thing. Also, just a word of caution from another group I'm in. Some white supremacists are getting information leaked to them from groups from community watch groups. I'm not sure what the process has been to vet people or if our group actually has any, but just be vigilant. If you have verifiable proof, not just conjecture, that someone is in our chat who is a white supremacist or sympathetic with them that should be shared with the team, then just get them out of the chat. Like, the hysteria is, like, so intense at this point.
I mean, isn't it always, though? I was
like,
actually looking through
the only white supremacist shit is literally cops just posing as white supremacists. The same reason as, like, Antifa's not actually involved with this. Like, clearly they're not. Like, it's just people being instigators, like, using that title to, like...
I don't know, though, because their whole thing is that they're somewhat
No, it's 100% not
right?
Antifa. It's 100% not Antifa.
That's a hot take. I don't know.
It is a hot take, but I stand by it. I completely believe this. That it's not Antifa.
That it's just, what, white supremacists? Or...
Well, no,
I don't
not
believe
even
that. No.
It's the
I don't
fucking
believe that
popo.
either. No.
Yeah, it's just the fucking popo.
I think it's the police.
It's the fucking government. It's the goddamn government.
I think it's the police and government.
We gotta go OG libertarian up in here. Everything is the government. But I mean, it's.
I do believe Antifa
Like,
has acted as a terrorist organization in past instances, but I don't believe that's relevant or happening right now.
I mean, yeah, there might be some, like, truth to that, because, like, you know, Derek, I think I showed you a, like, weird fucking video of, like, this, like, planks of, like, fucking bricks everywhere.
Rory, has that been happening in your neighborhood? Are you part of a neighborhood group? Can you tell me more about what's happening over there?
Not shit is happening in my part of town.
What about the main streets, like on University?
I haven't seen shit. I haven't ventured so much to go to where the rioting actually, like, was, but
I'm not talking about rioting,
my part of town. I can just tell you that I have. I'm sorry. Go on.
No, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Have you been in contact with other people in your neighborhood about this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What is the consensus?
Well, the violence and the rioting seems to have been reserved to particular parts of town, and I'm not anywhere near that.
Yeah, like the Midway, particularly in St. Paul, right? Anywhere else?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the video of all the people outside of the Midway Target, and I was like, oh no, that's the only place in all of America where you can consistently get peanut butter porters, besides bars. Anyway.
Oh no,
what other places, Rory, have been targeted?
You would love it. There are so many peanut butter porters now.
I would love it.
Man.
Is that a thing now?
It's a thing now. Like,
well,
there's a lot of them now.
Yeah, when I visited America last year, I went to Dangerous Man Brewery, and they have a peanut butter porter on tap, and it was so good. And I tried to explain to people that peanut butter porter is the greatest thing of all time, and
it's not
usually
that
either people. It's so good. It's super uncommon here though because Asians don't like. Asians don't like dark beer.
We don't give a fuck about Asians.
No, I'm just saying, like
because that's what's available to him because of the market.
Yeah, because that's what I'm explaining it to.
Derek has that Asian fetish.
Stop.
He does.
Okay, you want Rory to talk about
just what's happening in St. Paul, please.
I'm not in St. Paul. I'm in Minneapolis.
Oh, I guess you're in Northeast, but you're pretty close to St. Paul, right? You're like 10 minutes from the Midway.
So, what I've heard is from my roommate, Rachel. She has heard from her own parents that there was some looting and rioting. Paul.
Like in East St. Paul?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like on Robert Street?
So that's like due east from where I.
On Robert Street?
You know, I don't really know the geography of the eastern half that
Probably
well.
Robert Street.
Kind of a mini. I'm a kind of a Minneapolis boy.
Okay.
But yeah, where I am, which is basically directly east of downtown Minneapolis, it's peaceful as fuck. It's the suburbs here, basically.
Even on Hennepin?
Yes.
Really? Nothing's boarded up?
There are many businesses boarded up, but in terms of
damage,
rioting, violence, we haven't seen that here.
Okay.
In my local neighborhood, not for miles.
Cool.
How's Rosedale Mall? Is Rosedale Mall okay? That's the only place
It's probably shut down.
I haven't been out there.
I'm sure it's shut down. Most of the malls are shut down.
Okay.
Only yesterday, our local liquor store opened up again for sales, for business.
When businesses are open, are they still being boarded up, but as well as open? Because that's what is happening here.
I'm sorry, you were cutting out there. I couldn't hear your question.
Sorry, Rory. Are businesses still boarded up, but open? Like, they have their open signs outside of the boards?
Yeah, they are. That's about 70% of businesses in my area.
Have you seen like a police or National Guard patrol in your neighborhood at all?
Nope, none whatsoever.
Any drones?
Drones? No, not that I've seen.
Okay.
Is that a thing? Are people noticing like police drones, like drones?
There are
with,
surveillance.
Little police
there are surveillance
caps and
drones.
Little police beating sticks and little police red and blue lights.
They're for surveillance. It's made me put a mask on when I take my dog out, so they don't recognize my face.
They'll recognize your dog's face, though.
I mean, what am I supposed to do about that? Yeah, there's surveillance drones.
Sydney, so I'm curious about your part of town. You are in northwest Minneapolis, if I'm correct.
I'm in Uptown. I live like a block away from the CC Club, if you know where that is. Like in Inland Lake.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so there was a very peaceful protest on Lyndale and Lake Street a couple days ago. However, none of the damage has really been down Lyndale Avenue. So all of the damage is located in other areas. However, there's been a huge police presence here. There are helicopters going by every second of every day. Like, even right now, there are helicopters flying around, not like literally the second, but in my specific neighborhood, people have been arrested, they've been hit with paint canisters, and they've been hit with tear gas for sitting in their porches doing neighborhood watch.
Wow, holy
Someone
shit.
on my street was arrested for wearing an Antifa shirt, which was actually from like a harm reduction community, which harm reduction means
how can you be arrested for wearing a t-shirt?
Well, they said it was an Antifa shirt, but harm reduction means if you're a drug addict, you try to reduce the harm of dying. Yeah.
Regardless of what's on your t-shirt, how are you arrested?
Yeah. Well, even if it was an Antifa t-shirt, it's this is freedom of speech or whatever. But he was arrested.
Exactly.
He was doing nothing. His name is Emmett. He should be released today, but he was held on 36 hours on riot charges, no bail. Which that's significant. That's significant because people are donating a lot of money to the Minnesota Freedom Fund, so people who do get arrested because of protesting can get out on bail, but they're now charging people who are doing nothing, not even protesting. And
that's fucking insane.
Not even letting them have so I feel like I can't go outside. I haven't taken my dog outside after curfew. Curfew just extended the next 2 days, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. And I don't feel like I can be outside safely. I'm watching outside at all times, but basically our communities have had to police themselves. But nothing really bad damage-wise, as far as break-ins or arson, has happened in my general block area, to answer your question.
Okay. That's, more fleshed out picture. Thank you.
Okay, so just to clarify for anyone listening, the people I'm speaking to is two Minnesotans that I know IRL, which is Sydney and Well, I guess in the chat you're serious. Do we call you by your first name?
Call me Spinny.
Okay, I'll call
or
you Spinny.
Spinny
Really?
will be
Really?
Your internet name.
Okay.
It's got a long history, okay?
You mean if you're just doing
and then,
meth? Like,
we also have Toto, who's usual on the
Come
show,
on, please.
and Fleegan, who's on here
That
now.
doesn't have to
who
be more. That's not relevant
I
here.
thought I had sent the link at the beginning of the stream, and then I checked and realized that I must have been like about to paste it, and then like got distracted and wandered away like an idiot. So now I got him his link. And also, whenever I see Jen Church of Entropy in the chat, I always toss her a link too, because it's always fun to have her take on here too. So those are all the people on the
for having
stream.
me.
hi, Jen.
Oh, hi. Nice to meet you.
How are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm a little
Where are you
sad.
located? Are there riots where you are?
No.
I think you're somewhere in like the like actual Midwest, right? Like I think you're like
How is this
Pennsylvania
not the
or something?
actual Midwest, Eric?
Well, because Minnesota's like kind of northish, and it's kind of like a baby version of New York.
It's a
No,
baby
I mean, you're
version
not
of New
wrong.
York with Canadian influence.
Yeah, too much.
Like, our mayor is a clone of Justin Trudeau.
Literally,
Yes.
yeah, B version Trudeau. I think he's also the son of Fidel Castro.
I think that too.
I'm just gonna throw that out there. Like, why not? This is wild conspiracy stream.
Like-
So any wild take we got, we're just throwing it out there.
Well,
But,
it seems like it's conspiracy theory week. Like, Duvid had a theory that Jeffrey Epstein released coronavirus as revenge.
What?
So-
Well, elaborate on that.
I know, it's
Well,
hilarious.
well,
Duvid is
okay, so
hilarious.
under multiple truth hypothesis, this is one angle we have to examine.
I'm prepared to present me with the evidence. My body is ready.
I've been trying to understand what the multiple truth hypothesis even is, and I don't think I'm quite there yet.
Well, I remember when I talked to him, I was trying to get more of an explanation of it, and I think it actually has merit from like a like a heuristic or like a perspective of I guess I don't know like a mental masturbation standpoint, which is basically philosophy. That which is philosophy is a lot of.
Wait,
mental
can you back up what you
masturbation.
just said?
What?
What are you responding to specifically? What statement?
I don't think she knows what the multiple truth hypothesis is, God forbid. Might have to tell her.
Probably not. Please
Yeah,
educate me.
this is Duvid's pet theory, which is
Go
how do we even I don't even know how to paraphrase it without doing it without doing it justice.
Why don't you let Jennifer try?
Yeah,
just
you should
as a
try
background-
because he's your yeah.
He's my pet project. Yeah, so just the background, like, I met him in this, like, I don't really know how to describe the niche community. It's kind of similar to what Derek has going on here, but it's the subjects they cover are a little bit different. But basically, there's a lot of intellectuals and like pseudo intellectuals, so it's pretty interesting. But anyway, Duvid is like I guess you could call him a personality. He's like honestly have hard time even putting a finger on how to describe him, but he's like
Like a commercial personality or
like a when like back in the day when people would say like, oh, what a character, like he's a big
okay, yeah, so like an archetype or like a
kind of, yeah, like
just
a
like a
poetic archetype. I guess.
so exaggerated that he's like a character.
Well, okay,
I
he's
wouldn't
very smart. He has
Yeah.
some wit, and he loves to play chess. And then I think there's a lot of conversation he has where like he's setting up like a chess move, right?
Yeah, but Derek, you're like a bad person to talk about this because all of the people you interact with are like exactly this esoteric and like exactly like this.
That's true. I have I guess
I just want to hear from
Jennifer.
Jennifer.
Yeah.
So Duvid's brand of esotericism is he is an Orthodox Jew who enjoys the trappings of Hinduism and also
Okay.
enjoys science. And that's where
Okay.
we kind of connected because
That sounds
I'm
very
also
fun.
really into science. Yeah,
Yeah.
we just basically bonded over science, and we've been doing a show together like every week for the over the past year. And he's come up with this theory, which he calls the multiple truth hypothesis. And we're still trying to figure out exactly what it is, but basically, it's something to do with multiple interpretations of the same event as both being true or simultaneously being true. I think.
I'm very interested in this. Yeah. I mean, there's I don't know what to say, honestly, but just like, please continue while I'm formulating my thoughts.
Well, I'll link you to Weekend Review so you can catch up on some of them if you're looking for long
Yeah, I'll read it.
podcasts to listen to.
So, like, why do you feel like this is important?
Well, I'm not entirely sure what even what is the theory even is, because he's still kind of working on it. But one thing I could say is that in my experience, a lot of people seem to have trouble with the idea that more than one thing is true at the same time. Like,
Have you ever read Bret Easton Ellis's Rules of Attraction?
yeah, and seen the movie. He's one of my favorite authors.
That was the first thing I ever read as a teenager that like cued me on to like how different people can experience the same event completely differently and how multiple perspectives of the same thing are valid. Like,
Do you agree that a lot of times when someone states a fact, someone will come back and like they won't acknowledge what they said. They'll just say, well, and then they'll say something different that seems like a contradiction, but maybe isn't.
yes. Yeah.
So I guess if there's one thing I would point to with regards to multiple truth hypothesis, which admittedly don't quite know exactly what it is that that's something to look at is those cases where more than one thing is true and they're not a contradiction.
Or like, if you even, there are people who believe things that are still objectively false a lot of the times. Like, I've had a lot of interactions with people who just for their own egos, they need to convince themselves of certain things. And so the way they describe things to other people, like, but they do genuinely believe it. And that makes dealing with them a little difficult, if that makes any sense. Not that that's directly related to what you're talking about, but
Well, I think that's like when someone's describing
Tangentially.
something, and then if you take a step back and look at it, you're just like, oh, you're trying to convince yourself. Like,
yeah, but you like can't convince them because they very much believe that they're in the right.
Yeah, well, and I think there's all these studies, right, that say that people they like decide emotionally what they want to believe and then make up a rationalization after the fact.
Or but
Which
like
is depressing.
more like
I hate that.
like the Mandela effect, for instance.
Yeah,
where
and a
people
lot
are
of like
like,
confirmation
so-
bias kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, Mandela effect though does feel real because I definitely did experience that. that is my lived experience. Okay, like
I agree.
right when that shit went down, I was like, wait a minute, he died in prison. But for me though, it didn't occur when he died. It occurred when he met the Spice Girls.
But like human memory is so flawed.
Because he
And,
met
like,
the
easily
Spice
manipulated.
Girls, and then I thought, didn't he die in prison?
You're talking about Mandela specifically?
Yeah, Mandela, he met the Spice Girls in like 2013 or whatever, and I heard about it, and I was like, wait a minute, didn't he die in prison? And that was my Mandela effect. Is I was like, I thought he died in prison, so how could he meet the Spice Girls? Everybody else is like, how can he die in 2016 or whatever when he died before? For me, it was like a few years earlier when he met the Spice Girls.
In like 2007, I went to this library in St. Paul, and they had this book that had no dust sleeve on it. It was called The Rape of the Mind. I think the author was Max Fink, and it was about like totalitarian governments, like basically deprogramming people to tabula rasa and making them like believe things they wanted to. And it was very like heavily reliant, or maybe I was just reading a lot of other books at the same time about human memory and stuff and how like unreliable it was and how easy it was to manipulate.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff is like when you take a step back and then realize how reliant you are on your own mind. That's really unsettling.
Well, I mean, yeah, I have like mental health issues, and so I'm in therapy and stuff. And so a lot of the times to my therapist, I'm like, yeah, I have this memory, but like, I'm honestly not sure if this is the way things happened. Like, I don't know how to feel. And they're like, yeah, but like the trauma you feel from it is like a real, like it did happen. And I'm like, that seems like a really dangerous perspective. But I guess, like,
Okay, and that's good that you say that. So here's the thing, though, like with this whole perspective of people who, because okay, I understand that we've spent most of the stream talking about the police instigated angle to this, and I don't want to diminish that because it does seem like there's a lot there.
I mean, nothing. Yeah, like we'll wait until
However,
curfew.
there are in fact rioters. Okay, there are in fact some people who are taking advantage of the situation and using it to riot, and even
Yeah,
those
but
people
there
who
have
like
not
are just
been
taking
rioters for
advantage.
several days. There have not been rioters for several days. The protests have showed great, like, restraint. The people in the protests, like, if you watch the live streams of it, like, it's been pretty commendable how someone will get, like, heated or, like, have an emotional response to something and the other people will check them. It's been honestly really good. Like, I could not ask anything else from a protest, especially of this magnitude. I personally think these demonstrations are, like, really, like, respectable, in my opinion, like, since Friday. Obviously, Friday's a different ass story.
Well, that's good, right? That I guess that's a bit of a white pill. That it's not just gonna be like all out constant violence. Because that was one thing I speculated about.
Yeah.
Well, because I was sitting here thinking, okay, if people are rioting and protesting, which is kind of like, you know, that's the basic bitch mainstream narrative. If you look at just like everything at face value, I was sitting here thinking, this is never going to end because systemic racism is a bullshit narrative that it isn't real. And therefore, they're going to constantly riot because there's no way to solve the problem they're rioting over. And it's just nice to hear that maybe that isn't the case because something else is going on.
What,
Don't you think it's just communist insurrection?
Yes.
Well, what does that mean though, right? Because for example, like I think the government's communist, right? So if the government instigates something, to me that's communist insurrection, right?
Well,
but then also Antifa is, and so is
MPD
BLM.
are completely valid. All the criticisms of the MPD are completely valid. They're completely right.
I mean,
like, irregardless of the race stuff, which I don't agree with, their criticisms of the MPD are completely right. It needs to be abolished or reformed, and based on the legislation that has happened as a result of this, it seems like that's the direction it's actually going in, which is kind of shocking.
Well, you just have to look at the history. I mean, communism's long been promoted as a cure
Yeah, but
for racism.
Is the history that relevant in a situation where this, like, event has been, like, unprecedented historically?
What exactly is unprecedented?
The amount of people protesting.
Oh no, there's been protests way bigger than this before. I mean,
Like,
China, Russia. Like,
Okay, but in terms of the U.S., right?
Well, I mean, do you consider the Civil War protest?
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Kinda,
I would agree.
yeah.
But like, it's pretty close to that, I would feel like.
I saw somewhere this morning that 4,000 people were arrested during the L.A. riots, and a guy who was present at both, he said the LA riots were bigger, but maybe this is more widespread. Like,
I would agree that it's likely that they're bigger protests. However, the property damage in Minneapolis and the total destruction of the community is unprecedented in the U.S. as far as right now. Like, the amount of businesses and residential, like, you know, buildings that have been destroyed, I don't think that's happened anywhere else.
Maybe. I wonder how much of that is, I mean, societies get richer over time, which would mean that there's more value to destroy. I that might be kind of a non-point, but I just wanted to throw that out. That was my immediate
You can, like, look at how many, like, buildings were set ablaze. Like,
right.
but I mean, it's fine because the Minneapolis community has stepped up and, like, completely, like, well, I mean, all these places have insurance, and it's like the community has totally stepped up to, like, clean up where the city or the police would normally be responsible for that. The community is just doing that. The police have been specifically silent. The community has been silent, like they've been instructed to not be in the community. And that's why all of us, including me, think now that these people aren't necessary for us to function. I guess it's hard to relate if you're not here right now because everything seems like such a like extreme threat. Not like specifically now in this day of this, like day 7 or 8 or whatever this is. It doesn't seem like that much of a threat, but honestly, the way the community is organized is really like commendable, and I'm really proud of everybody.
Yeah, well, and I guess that's the white pill that I hope that a lot of people take out of the situation.
But
It's
I
a
was
white
very
pill
definitely-
that people are cleaning up after rioters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, no,
it
the,
is,
the white pill
yeah.
is that for example, if I say, we don't need to have a monopoly on dispute resolution and law enforcement and things like that, now people are going to actually take that perspective more seriously, I hope.
Especially
They're
when,
not. No one's going to
when
take
the
the
rioting
policy
reached
and
a
say,
degree to where it was so bad, then people pulled back and stopped, and then like the response to it, yeah, no, it is a good thing. Like, I don't know if it's like hard to relate because you're not here, but like, yes, like the total community response to this is unequivocally positive.
I see it as pretty bad that people are cleaning up after other people's messes.
Well, in general, sure.
Yeah,
Like,
but
all
you're not-
things being equal, like, we prefer for this not to ever happen. But if we're kind of looking at it from another perspective and saying, like, what's the
that
silver
simple.
lining,
That's a severe oversimplification of the circumstance.
I mean, well, but it's not inaccurate, right? Like, in general, the
No,
fact that
it
there's...
is inaccurate because people who are doing damage are still cleaning up their own messes.
Well, wait, but that makes it worse.
Why does it make it worse?
Like, it's better to have a perspective that's like, oh, some people did damage, and then, oh, I guess maybe you're right. I guess people can
No,
make
you're
their
wrong.
own
It's better if
mess.
some people did some damage and they're like, yeah, I understand that this was out of control, but I'm trying to convey a point, and now I care about my community, so I'm trying to rebuild it. Like, you're wrong.
Yeah, but I
That's-
wonder, is it really the same people?
Yeah, they're caught on video.
Wait, but that's weird though, right? Because then,
Well, I mean, it's my community, so I know these people, so, like, I know, yeah, but, like...
so wait, but you're saying they went out and rioted and then protested and cleaned up things after the fact? That can't be what you're saying.
From my understanding, like, the worst damage was done on days I wasn't here, but all of the video evidence of the people who started this kind of damage were really suspicious. Like we've talked about before, the Peterson cop guy or whatever. But I think people, when they're in a position of being in a protest that is so, like this one is, they get intoxicated with their purpose, their entire message or whatever, and like especially a couple days ago when reform seemed so far away, they would get really intoxicated with the idea of being on the right side of history is what we see with the radical left a lot. They will justify their actions saying they're on the right side of history. However, I think that after the extreme amount of damage was done to Minneapolis after Friday night, people reevaluated their viewpoints. And yes, even people who did destroy the community on Friday reassessed on Saturday and did do things to help afterwards. Yes, I do think that's true.
So I guess there's no problem then.
The problem right now is the police and the extreme amount of National Guard here. They're attacking people unprovoked. They're attacking people sitting on their porches. They're throwing paint canisters into houses where people aren't even outside. That's a problem. That's a huge-ass problem.
Well, it's actually quite interesting then, right? Because a lot of people, they'll say, oh, if we don't have police, we're going to have this anarchy and all this chaos. But what this seems to have demonstrated is at least an example of what'll happen is even insofar as that could be the case, people will eventually come to their senses and then be motivated to kind of clean things up after the fact. And that's pretty cool. So that's why I would describe that aspect of it as kind of a white pill.
They're doing a blackout. They won't help us. If we call 911 with reports of arson or anything else, they won't come here. We have to defend ourselves. They're not doing anything. It's a tactic by them like to make us be reliant on them. Like, yeah, there is a problem, and it is the police.
Well, and
I
that's
don't
actually
think I'm-
that's been a libertarian talking point for many years, which is that you kind of call in to report some violence to the police, and what they're gonna do, or a theft even, right?
They're leveraging
They're-
their position.
Yeah,
Like,
they're gonna show up however many minutes or hours even after the fact, and then just kind of document what happened, and then not be able to solve it.
everybody on my block, my predominantly white block, which is a community of like well-respected like people with jobs or whatever, we're just trying to protect ourselves, but police are still arresting and attacking us unprovoked. What would you do?
Yeah, well, obviously, it honestly, yeah, you should protect yourself, and
The
frankly,
police
it's the
are a
same
threat.
thing though.
Like, there is something wrong. The police are a threat to us.
Yeah, and my argument, my suggestion is that to some degree, perhaps not the same degree, but to a significant degree, this has always been the case, and people just haven't really accepted that reality.
It's true that I've never accepted your viewpoints until like I lived a situation where I saw how like prosperous my community and how much better it would be than the police. I'm giving you credit here. Where
Yeah, well, and that's my point,
our
is that I'm
community
hoping that
really
more
like
people
rised above. I'm
yeah,
so
well-
proud of like what we've done, and it's really great. However, in the same vein, I do think people are being hysterical. Like, there are threats that aren't really real that people are reacting to. They're being overly reactive, but can you really blame people who have never dealt with crisis reacting to any threat in such an extreme way?
Right. Yeah.
Do you really think people are going to go for the whole abolish the police angle, though? Because I just don't.
I would say about 30% of people in this city think that.
What are you going to replace it with, though?
That's an extremely good question. I'm just.
Yeah, I think
answering the
that's a
question.
good thing to look at.
I definitely agree with you. I would completely vet any like replacement thing. I think you're completely right. A lot of the neighborhood watches have been like accused of having the same tactics of the police, being like overly. I'm trying to think of the right word. Forgive me, I have brain damage. But like, it's difficult. It's not. It's a very nuanced issue. I think you're right to be questioning this. Everybody is, but the Minneapolis Police Department specifically seems like it should be completely replaced.
I actually used to work for the police. I know somebody from the Minneapolis Police Department. She's really sweet.
Yeah, but
I think that police departments are really way more fucked up than they should be, because the people in charge.
But like I was arguing with an employee I had, where it's like, yeah, you still have to treat the police that went through this as like people, because they're like, kill them, whatever. They're non-human. It's like, well, clearly not. Like, they're in a position where this action is just like, if you do a certain thing and it's only positively reinforced for you to behave this way, like, obviously it's not like you're an evil person, it's just the system you're in. They're like, no, there's no way for them to change. It's like, well, I mean, they're human. Like, obviously there is. Like, it's not like they're inherently evil.
Yeah, well, and then even beyond that, you might even have people acting within that system who are like trying to change it, or are actually very good, even if they're not manipulated by like a system of positive reinforcement. So there's all shades of it.
Well, yeah, the big problem I'm running into.
I actually have an answer for the question: what should you replace it by? The Swiss Guard.
Okay.
The Swiss Guard. There we go.
Works for the Vatican. I mean, it's a limited resource, of course, but
limited resource doesn't work that well in America. Like, I don't know.
like, there's almost, I guess, there's less than 3 million Swiss adult males, and most of them wouldn't qualify for the Swiss Guard. But you could outbid the Vatican, you know.
I mean, the specific communities, like, protecting themselves works really well right now, but as a long-term thing, that would never be viable, especially because of COVID. Like, people don't have the kind of time when they work full-time to do this kind of thing. Also, it would get exhausting, and people would feel resentful towards having to, like, spend this much time policing their community. Like, there has to be a different alternative. I don't know what that is. I'm not saying I do know what that is, but
America could just start training and vetting their police better in general.
yes,
Like, that's where a lot of this shit starts.
That's
It's like
one of the goals. Yeah, I agree.
But then who's going to do the vetting, right? That's like the question is,
You're right. Yeah.
who's in charge, and really, at the end of the day, what are the values? Because frankly, I think the values of the American Constitution are really insufficient to design any type of government. It's essentially a liberalist ideology, or liberal ideology, right? So
I would
liberal
agree
ideology
with
doesn't
you.
really have a backbone to it. It's axiomatically inconsistent.
I mean,
So-
I'm just saying private security companies.
I think you're
Yeah,
on to
I-
something.
well, that's the direction I would go in too, right? Is that let the customer vote with their wallet, which I know a lot of people they take a lot of issue with that, but I think all things considered, you know, if you compare it not to a perfect ideal, but to what the other solutions that have been tried are, I think it can
There
be
isn't a perfect
favorable.
ideal, though. That's completely
Yeah,
ridiculous
exactly,
to try to strive
exactly.
for that.
But that see, here's the thing though. Once you take the ANCAP pill, you have to deal with people who confront you with the perfect ideal literally every single time you make an argument. Is they say, "How come it's not perfect?" And I'm like, and it's so frustrating.
Well, I think that's
No,
because
I would.
ANCAPs
Sorry,
are-
Jennifer.
Sorry. Yeah, ANCAPs are kind of like purity spiralers sometimes.
That's
So-
fair enough.
People use like people
But,
who are
but
against.
you know what, Jen? We're the right purity spiral, okay? There's like a dozen different purity spirals you can take, and this is the one correct one.
Well, the correct one is the one that gets results, right? So you have to judge based on results, and ANCAPs have had a hard time being taken seriously by large demographics, as well as they have bad quality control, because there's people who claim to be ANCAPs who promote stuff that's just like, it's just obviously wrong. So, yeah, I get it. I think in terms of an ideology, it has less wrong with it than rival ideologies, but there's no way to abolish the state, because then you have like that's like there's a state anytime you have civilization.
I agree.
Well, yeah, that's
So-
the thing, right? Because if one person violates the non-aggression principle, they've essentially established a micro-state.
But there's good.
That's
like,
how I
like
see
the
it, right?
I like
So-
the way you look at it. I like
Yeah.
that framework, because then if you describe, it fits well with what I believe. Because if you describe people's minds as property, like people's belief is a form of property, and then whose property is it? And then I can set up a series of equations where I prove that it's mine. So I'm down. I'm
Yeah,
down.
you're down with a
Take-
system that lets you mentally take ownership of reality.
Well, I think that if anyone's going to do it, and if someone has to do it, it might as well be me.
Well, and this is one point that I liked from you, which is that like all governments are theocracies fundamentally, because
They function
I
theocratically.
yeah, because here's the thing is I understand that when a lot of people say that, like they're saying it from the perspective of that there needs to be like an infusion of these like moral values with the way that you have your statecraft, but like I look at that from just like a basic bitch atheist standpoint, where I'm just like, man, fuck the Abrahamics, they're all fucking bitch made
Like
and it's
T.J.
awful.
Kirk.
Yeah, totally. No, except T.J. Kirk's a goddamn commie, so he's not even an atheist. He's not even, if you're a communist, you're not an atheist, because your religion is statism. So he's the amazing, not even an atheist. But but I guess he can get a banana up his ass further than I can. So I can't take that away from him. But no, but I look at it from the perspective of like religion's fucking garbage, and then it's like all state is theocracy, and I'm like, yeah, it's all fucking garbage. Burn it all down. Like fuck it.
While this is going live, I'm gonna mute myself to listen to it.
Think about it like this.
Let us know if you find anything interesting.
Think about it like this. The state is that which enforces private property rights through violence, and the legitimacy of the state depends on whether the people in general believe that the state has the capacity to enforce property rights. and the faith is programmed through ideology, which functions theocratically, which is why so many people end up like worshiping the state, so to speak, because it's this big thing that's like godlike in their eyes.
Okay, that actually connects a lot of themes here, right? Because I guess in those terms, my argument is then people who are using the threat of potential force to defend their own property, by this standard, they would be establishing a state. That wouldn't be the definition I use, but I can use these terms in this context here to make it kind of make more sense, right? And then if you have a society of people who understand that, like, oh, if I try to like smash windows and rob people and loot, like the store owner's gonna murder me, so it's just not worth it. I shouldn't even try. It's better to do all these other options I have available to me to procure wealth or have peace or whatever. And then when you also consider that the state of things as they are now, it was instigated by, actors of the so-called state, the state properly defined under our Constitution, our police officers, our law enforcement, who aren't acting in this way. They're people who initiate violent force against others. You have that aspect of it, but then when you tie faith into it, that kind of ties back to, like, I want people to not need to have faith because they can just kind of logically see that like respect for private property goes all the way down, condemns everything ethically that needs to be forbidden, and then creates this wonderful space for people to be, they can be assholes, they can be shitty, they don't have to be good moral people, you just have to not be unethical, which is a very, very low bar, a bar that I think very low IQ, violent, savage people can still meet under the right circumstances. But when you say you have a faith which kind of promotes the ideology that lets people see the authority in that enforcement of property, I feel like that's kind of the missing link that ties like really stupid low IQ people into the system and then lets them like just not be a bunch of violent retards.
I don't know if everyone's capable of that.
I don't think he's saying they are.
Religion. They're capable of having a religion of private. Maybe that's the solution. Is libertarianism needs to establish a church
of entropy? Way ahead of you, bud. I got you. I got you covered,
That's it. You're the church. That's it.
Yeah, you gotta have one because there's a need for certain people to have something like that. I don't understand why, but I guess I lack the empathy.
No, I don't think that at all. I wanted to say something about what Derek just said here because it's important. Like, you made a statement based on logic, and statements of logic are also statements of faith because you're having faith in the fact that logic applies. And I know that seems tautological, but science-based faith is actually the strongest because you're saying, well, you're accepting that faith is part of every value judgment because you have faith that the thing you're using to make the value judgment works. It's just the best form of faith, but it's still faith. So you just have to learn to see other people's misshapen, shitty, non-logical faith as like a degenerated version of what you have and show them that through your own example, that it's actually it's a way better life to have faith only in logic because then you don't get disappointed. But people are like largely not ready to make that step to purely logic-based value judgments. Because it's like thinking backwards, right? Because normally the way people think is they think that they think logically. They don't. They rationalize post hoc. So you're basically trying to get them to admit that they are deceiving themselves, reverse the polarity of how they think, and that requires a complete philosophical frame shift. So it's not impossible.
An individuated one too, right? That's like for each individual deceiving themselves, you have to like enter their headspace and enter their logic and follow them down all their rabbit holes and then point out to them like, oh look, here's a dead end here, here's a dead end there. Are you ready to come back with me?
And you have this additional thing is that people have the illusion of free will. They have an attachment to the belief that they're free to make their own decisions. And so when you start to say things that makes them start to realize that they're actually not that free in their decision-making process, they'll resist it. because people are just very resistant to, like, if you know how if you get the sense someone's trying to make you do something, you're like going to be more suspicious and probably like not going to do it unless you really discover it yourself.
Well, I mean, that's how I feel, is when people say that, like, it sounds like you're taking a stance that's kind of halfway between the whole free will determinism thing, which is interesting, because people usually are either, like, hardcore in one camp or the other. Personally, I'm team free will. I'm team free will, even if it comes off as like plebeian and basic bitch. But I stand by it.
Well, we experience something that feels like free will. We can agree on that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The question is whether it is truly free, and there's arguments on both sides. And I could tell you scientifically what it is that you experience as free will. And yeah, we do have control over the outcome of what we do. But then there's like another level of it where the way people think that they think, which is logical, is incorrect. It's not really how people think generally. There are exceptions. Some people do think logically, but it's very rare to be purely logical.
What's your take on this thing that Elon Musk says he's developing? This Neuralink.
Sorry?
If you look, Elon Musk is like working on this Neuralink, and he's talking about adding a third layer to the way the brain works, like between the reptile brain and your actual cortex, to separate the. Ultimately, it sounds like he wants to separate the control of the reptile brain over the part that thinks it's in charge. I don't know if it's feasible.
Religiously speaking, from a strictly religious perspective, and I know it's probably not going to be very popular on this panel, that type of belief or action is considered heretical because you're essentially playing God. You're trying to take a shortcut to enlightenment. And whether this is what people realize is what they're doing, they are doing that. But it doesn't really work because enlightenment, like I could prove to you biophysically why you can't take shortcuts to enlightenment. But that idea, plus like the CRISPR idea that you can just edit out the parts you don't like and keep what you like, that will always have more negative consequences than positive ones because of the like literal physical facts of how consciousness works. So I mean, I'm against basically anything electromagnetic interfering with the mind because God made it perfectly, and for us to try to augment ourselves is like playing God. But yeah, you're essentially going to fry your brain if you try to do stuff like that. Like, how the hell are they going to know? So you're essentially putting an electrical current into your quantum mind.
Yes,
isn't that just terrifying and
would be interesting what comes out of it.
It's going to be horrifying.
I'm not a fan of the idea, but if they actually manage to insert a third, like, artificial part that could sever the control of the reptile brain that it currently, it's just like like you said, you can reach enlightenment through methods that are known. This seems like a shortcut, like freeing what you think of yourself from what actually controls your actions on average. It has interesting connotations.
I'm a bit of a Luddite this way. Like, I'm against performance enhancing drugs generally and stuff like that. Like, I think you're going to end up paying a price. You may not realize it right away, but you're going to pay some price. And why would you want to have the bad karma associated with being something like, I don't know, drone?
No, that's just because we don't have the best drugs yet, right? Eventually, we're going to have all the drugs that just make everything all better with no downside.
It would be nice if that were true, right? Like some of these, like it seems like another, what do you call it? Utopianism. This like transhumanism thing. It seems like another version of utopianism. Like, oh, I could just live forever. We could just get the equations. So I'm trying to basically convince people through physics that what it is that they want, that they think they want, they don't actually want it, and why, like computationally speaking, if it would just be a huge endeavor. It's kind of like, why would you go to Mars? You know, why would you try to solve this problem when there's so many other pressing issues, like police brutality?
Well, okay, here's the thing though. So for example, like daily vitamins, right? You know, there's not really a disadvantage to eating those, you know? Like, just kind of supplements a diet that maybe you missed a couple of vitamins when you ate too much pizza, and you can take some vitamins, and then it kind of cheats it into being more like you ate a few more vegetables. And I know that, you know, when you take a piss and your piss is bright yellow, you just pissed out all the vitamins that you spent all that money buying or whatever. But, you know, you probably picked up a few more vitamins, right? And I feel like that sets a precedent that, in theory, I guess we could just have better vitamins, because vitamins are essentially drugs. All food is essentially a drug, right? Now, a lot of that which is called drugs are things that are a little bit like black magic, right? A little bit like witchcraft, that you get kind of a short-term gain that does, in fact, catch up with you. But I don't think that there's like a metaphysical karmic justice to that. I really do think it's just a matter of, like, our technology needs to improve.
Well, of course, there's a metaphysical justice to it. Think about the antidepressant drugs. What do? They basically flood the brain with neurotransmitters. But
neurotransmitters exist in your brain.
Like
well,
SSRIs or SNRIs or...
Sorry, they flood the brain with something.
The mechanism of action is different depending on the class of medication, though.
I'm describing the ones that accelerate the transmission of neurotransmitters across the
SSRIs.
So one of the issues with that is that people don't realize is that in the long run it causes the natural capacity for absorption to be lowered, because it's like the idea is kind of, if you had a wheelchair and you always sat in the wheelchair and you never got up out of it, your muscles would eventually atrophy. So there's an atrophying action. It's like if you guys have ever taken ecstasy, how you feel like terrible afterwards because you've basically overloaded your system.
Yeah, but the mechanism of action is not remotely similar.
Nobody was able to explain Keith Richards to me yet. Like, the dude from the Rolling Stones took pure heroin and pure cocaine to get up, heroin to get down, and he went to Geneva once, a couple times a year to get his blood replaced. And somehow this guy is still alive.
What?
Wait, back up, what?
He got his blood replaced?
No, that's a thing you can do. Like,
that's amazing.
If you're rich enough.
Fuck.
And apparently, it's with drugs like cocaine and heroin, the stuff that really fucks you up is not even the drug itself, but the fact that it's cut with all kind of bullshit. Like, I'm not advocating for anyone to take those drugs.
Being cut with bullshit. What are you
saying?
saying?
No, heroin and cocaine. Like, that's like a mummified. Like, the fact that this man is still alive is amazing to me.
Okay,
yeah, definitely. Like, there's an issue. There's like research chemicals or like specific like analogs of certain legal medications being like by clandestine like chemists, I guess, are making all of the drugs really dangerous, and there's no like, you know, like within pharmaceuticals there would be something like, you know, the exact dosage of anything or anything that's a filler or whatever, but with street drugs it's not even true, and it's like very dangerous.
My issue though is that in terms of this discussion of like whether or not drugs are inherently good or bad, or whether or not they could be perfected.
I'm interested in the antidepressant thing. Like, are you talking about SSRIs or are you talking about like old school antidepressants?
My point is that it's not relevant.
Something
you can point to any specific drug or any class of drugs and then say, here's how it works and here are the material positive or negative effects of it. But that's not
that's specifically dependent on that person's biochemistry. Like, even if you say this is the specific medication and these are the side effects and this is the mechanism of action of this drug, it's still not going to affect all people the same way. But if you say antidepressants, even though that's a class of medication, there's still like SSRIs, there's SNRIs, there's CNS, like there's not CNS, but like there's like, so it's not like one thing, like
no, exactly. So and all of that conversation is relevant if you're like talking about this reality now and trying to solve people's problems and questioning whether or not drugs have like a utility in the here and now, in regards to a specific person, specific kinds of drugs, etc. Which is all
They
it's a good
definitely
conversation.
do, but it's controversial. You have to be in the field. Like,
yeah, you have.
I mean,
you have to know the person. You have to know they have to know themselves. They have to know all these things, right? And how they all work. But my point is that,
like,
in
the
theory,
first class of antidepressants
drugs could exist that don't function in the same material way. And this conversation of like if there's a karmic justice to the act of taking a substance, well, I honestly think that in theory,
Derek, though, you've never been on a prescription like medication that has been psychoactive.
no, yeah, but that I'm making a different point. My point is that in theory you could perfect drugs. That's my point.
Your theory is what? Your theory is what? Repeat that. Sorry, you cut out. You cut out. What did you say?
My theory is that you could quote unquote perfect drugs in such a way that like
well, yeah,
you don't have
with enough
aspects.
time and resources,
yeah, exactly.
you could. So like
Yeah.
the initial brand of antidepressants is like tricyclic, like clomipramine and shit or whatever. But now there's SRIs. Like these things have like evolved over time. However, like if you're in need, like depression, for instance, doesn't specifically need to be medicated, but something like schizophrenia or something with like a psychotic element or whatever, like kind of does need to be. And like psychotic disorders specifically, like antipsychotics, they'll have things like antipsychotics will cause like tardive dyskinesia or whatever. So if you take them, there are like huge risks that you'll develop like separate side effects that are so extreme that like your life will never be the same. Like,
Yeah,
it's not
the-
that
the
medications
status
just do what they're
quo,
supposed
right?
to do. Like,
the status
they'll
quo
cause
of-
these, like, avalanche of other effects, and then you have to take other medications to manage it. Like,
yeah. The status quo of drugs and nutrition need like support and supervision if they're gonna be like used in a way that's like responsible and effective.
even if it's not responsible, it's just like the informed consent part of it. Like when I was a young teenager, I was prescribed 4 different benzodiazepines at once, and my psychiatrist did not tell me that if I stopped taking them, it would compromise my seizure threshold, and my life was in danger. Like, you would think that would be like a minimum requirement to tell a patient.
Indeed.
Like,
yeah,
I was a child when this happened. Like, of course I would trust a doctor. Now that I'm an adult, like, I have a lot of opinions on medications, but they were formed from not trusting this specific person who almost killed me. Like,
I don't get this trust in doctors thing in general. Like,
well, I've also had 2 different doctors who have had their medical licenses revoked. Like, they're not, like, psychiatrists specifically for me. With my mental health issues, it's hard to find a good one. And, like, if I have a psychiatrist who is drinking on the job in my fucking things, it's like, oh, like, why would... It's like, why did you get to this position in the first place when you yourself have a substance disorder issue?
Medication in general has, like, these huge flaws. Like, if my mother hadn't been pregnant with my brother when she... developed MS,
there's no medication
she
that
would
only
probably
does
be
what
dead
it
by
should.
now.
Exactly. There's
And
no
if
medication.
she took the medication for multiple sclerosis that they had at the time, she would have been in a wheelchair 1 year later, and she wouldn't be alive right now.
No, the side effects are extreme, and they don't tell you that because they're not incentivized to do that. Like.
But if we had unfeathered market capitalism, I do believe that we would see the utopia drug. I'm gonna put my flag in that.
No drug is gonna have no side effects.
There's no such thing
I
as
believe it will. I think it's possible.
It would be
I
cannabis.
think it's possible. It's gonna be like
Cannabis
is the closest thing.
donuts,
Cannabis
but
is
without
the closest thing.
All we have to do is take carbs out of donuts and add weed to it. That's the solution.
Derek, shut the fuck up.
And then put all the
and police violence.
The cannabis is the closest thing. It is, yeah.
My keto weed donut is literally gonna solve all of humanity's problems. It's gonna be like you know that Pepsi commercial where the bitch walks out and gives the cop a Pepsi? It's gonna be me. It's gonna be my fucking stoned ass stumbling out of a building being like, hey brah, have you tried this? And then they eat it and like they become instantly fit and thin because they got all their
I love that
vitamins.
scene. I love it. 100% would support. Love it.
This is amazing.
That's what's gonna happen.
Don't you think it's a spiritual problem?
I support it.
It has to be a spiritual solution.
You want
Go
people
on,
to
Jen.
suffer. That's all it is, Jen. You just want people to suffer.
Wait,
You
what's
don't
the
want my
spiritual
weed
problem? Can
keto
you
vitamin
define
donut to
it?
exist.
I'd like you to elaborate on the point, Jen.
Yeah. What specifically is a spiritual problem?
Well, when people are depressed, the origin of that bad feeling is spiritual. It's something that's causing dissonance somewhere in your thought process.
That's you like assuming that though. Like, how do you know that?
But why is that not
Study it.
psychological? Why is it spiritual?
Because spirituality is the root of consciousness.
Yeah, but
is
that's a value judgment by you. Like, how do you know
Well,
that
no.
what you're
Because,
saying has any
so
merit?
Jen
Assertion.
Jen
It's
has a
unfounded
theory
assertion.
that
How do we know that
bases
that is
this.
the root of consciousness?
You're just saying that.
No. She's not just saying it, guys. It's a basis in the way that things work, right? And this has to do with the quantum mind, right? Is that if you try to reduce
Yeah, but
things
you,
down
Derek,
to...
you personally have admitted to me that you don't understand depression in any way.
I don't
Okay,
know.
look at it like this. Okay, so your consciousness is where suffering happens, right? It's the consciousness that suffers, and consciousness is the spiritual.
I don't know if I would agree with that. Like, I've lived with depression my whole life, and a lot of it is really physical. There's like a I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that simple.
Well, your
We're
physical.
very
I don't agree. It's
How do you have the authority to say that, though? Like, how do you have the authority to say that, like,
Your
it's
physical
only
being.
this...
Your physical being is caused by your consciousness. Your consciousness is the thing which has caused your physical being to look the way that it does. So obviously, when there's a
I'm
spiritual,
not talking about looking anyway.
Well, how do we know that consciousness is not an outgrowth of the physical being rather than
Yeah.
the way that you put it?
because of conservation of energy.
Go
Why
on.
do you say that?
Well, I affirm reincarnation. So that right there is going to tell you.
Okay, but why?
Which
Like,
we
what
don't accept that immediately.
Okay.
like,
Go on.
can't-
So if you're going to see things my way, you have to look at your own consciousness.
I don't want to see anything your way. I want something to be objectively true.
Okay, well,
let her explain.
you're
Let her
gonna
explain a
find
little bit.
One at a time, please.
Sorry.
Okay, so here's a question. Why do you guys have siblings?
Yes.
Yes.
Why do you have different
Yes.
personalities from your siblings?
I kind of don't. We're all the same.
Oh, is that you're exactly the same. You're indistinguishable.
pretty
I mean, my personality is definitely different.
Personality from my sibling.
So if we look at material modern physics, they have no explanation for that. They say, well, it's just a random genetic randomness. So as soon as they start inserting random, you have to be suspicious because that's basically trying to gloss over a problem that they've decided is too complicated.
It's not randomness.
It isn't random. You already are born
No,
with
it
So
is
here's
it is
another
completely non-random that me
Here's
as
another
a
question.
sibling is
Are you
treated
born-
differently by my parents than my younger sibling.
Are you born
Yeah,
with a
it's not-
personality?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think you're born with a personality?
Nope.
No, I think it develops over your life experiences.
So you think you're
Exactly.
essentially born as a tabula rasa, and then your experience fully informs your development.
Not
No.
100% tabula rasa, but maybe a percentage.
But I don't think the sibling example is a good
Like,
one because the siblings don't exist in isolation. They react to their siblings. So, like, my little brother's personality is very much influenced by my existence. I experienced that firsthand growing up with him. Like a lot of his personality was trying to be different from me for many reasons. So I don't think the fact that he's different from me is not explainable without like a soul that is reincarnated. If you catch my
Okay,
drift.
good. That's a pretty good argument. Then why do siblings have different genetics?
Wait,
The
are
two
the
parents
genetics
have
different?
different
Eggs
Isn't
and
next to be
sperms have
It's
different
not-
mixtures.
But the parents' genetics are all the same.
But that's
no,
not how
they're not.
eggs and sperm work. Like,
But they don't know
there's
how.
like only half the chromosomes of my genetic code in my sperm. So those aren't all the same. They're like mix and match.
Right. So again, you're introducing a randomness element that is simply not there.
Yeah, but it is observable if you analyze the genetic the chromosomes of the individual sperm that they are not the same. That's not like it's. I guess you could say that there's predestined to be this way, but they are different on what we can only define as random.
Yeah, but
I
I
don't
think that that's a
define-
simplification, right? If we call it random, there might be an ordered process to it that we're just not seeing.
Exactly, that is true.
Ultimately, it comes down to the question of what is consciousness, and I think it's a quantum computer. So, if that's a fact, reincarnation follows from that because there's no way to destroy the waveform. So, therefore, reincarnation must be true. So, therefore, the
What
physical.
about dispersion?
There's nothing to decay the waveform. So, in quantum mechanics, in order
What
for
if
the
it
waveform
disperses?
I'm telling you why dispersal is impossible. Okay, dispersal
go on.
is possible. Dispersal is possible, but state reduction is impossible because your consciousness is only capable of waveform reducing by means of a fetus. You can't waveform reduce your consciousness to a rock, right?
I'm not sure what you mean by
why
waveform.
would it stick with the
reduction.
planet? Like, why would this state of matter or waveform stick with a planet that's rotating around the sun, that's rotating around the center of a galaxy, that's rotating around something else? Like, when you die, that waveform, why does it stick with the planet? Like, it's moving at a very high speed through
It's
space.
entangled. It's entangled, and essentially there's nothing to move it away from the planet. Like, why would it move away from the planet? Things tend to stay on the planet, right? Because of gravity.
Shit's fucking
Light is
deep.
affected by gravity. You know, light is affected. So
Yes.
the consciousness is photonic, which means it's entangled light. So it's not. It can't just expand arbitrarily big. It eventually reaches a maximum size, and there's essentially nothing for. There's no force that would move it away from the planet, and it's because it's under the planet's gravity field, right? And light is bent by gravity. So
Do souls multiply since the population of the Earth have been growing since the beginning of the last century?
No, what happens is that animals become human. There's a conservation. There's like a near conservation of souls, but it's because like matter can become conscious.
Like
You
the
can have
Savage Garden song.
you can have new souls, but they're always very simple that are created. And
So I used to be a bear?
So
You
like
could-
exactly the Savage Garden song.
you might have. I mean, I don't know what's the most likely to come into human form from animal. Probably cow. Bear.
I used to be a bear.
I have no idea. I mean, I don't
also
know.
identify as a bear.
But yeah,
I
I
guess,
mean,
technically, like maybe the higher on the food chain you are, the closer you are to human. I don't know.
it's a complexity thing, right? Like the way you have to look at it is a question of like conservation of souls. So if at any given point, there's 500 million humans, there's 500 million human souls for a while, and then all of a sudden it explodes and doubles the population, you can assume about half of those are first timers and they were animals before. And then if there's
So
a
it
die
goes-
off, then they'll go back to being animals, essentially.
So if there's like a major extinction event, like a comet hitting the Earth,
Yeah.
the souls become material, like they go back to being stones.
No, they
There's
don't.
no
They have no way of interfering with stones. So consciousness is an entangled light waveform. It can be
So
measured.
if the amount of living beings on the Earth would be reduced by the mega volcano under the Yellowstone Park exploding, like if it was reduced to half of all living beings, what would happen to the souls of that half?
They wouldn't be reborn until there was sufficient fetuses for them to be reborn into, because it's a question of like mechanical complexity, right? Like, even if you're a terrible person, you can't reincarnate as a cockroach, because a cockroach's consciousness is just not big enough to hold the human consciousness. So there's a certain limitation.
So the world will be overloaded by entangled waveforms of souls until it reaches a point of livability where enough living beings would be born.
Yeah, but like, why do you think you understand the rules of reincarnation? Like, why do you say that with such conviction? What if humans could be reincarnated into cockroaches? Why do you say that they couldn't? Like, what is the authority you're citing?
I'm referring to, I suppose, my own authority.
Not status authority.
Yeah, so whether
that's a bad argument. It's to cite authority.
Well, no, it's okay. Whether you
Evidence.
accept my authority is your own choice. I'm fine if you don't.
I'm not arguing. I'm just asking. I'm just curious.
You're asking how I established my authority. I've been studying physics for a very long time, and I also have a blog where I write up about my ideas. So that's
your blog is your authority?
Plus my own ability to make arguments.
Okay.
Can we have a link to your blog in Spacepan's Discord, please?
I would love that.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I just did another article which solves a long-standing problem in cosmological physics. If you're not interested in cosmological physics, I suggest not starting with that one, because it's
have you given that to people in the field?
Not really. No, I'm kind
Why
of like. Why
not?
Because I don't think that they are good faith actors.
So you don't think they would respond well? The experts in their field wouldn't respond well?
That I don't know if I would exactly word it like that, but basically I don't trust them and don't want to help them.
Yeah, but why? Can you elaborate?
Because in my eyes, I've judged them to be bad faith actors.
Yeah, but I'm asking why. Can you give us evidence?
You want me to say why I don't trust
yes.
the peer review process?
Yes.
Oh, where to begin?
Maybe an example of where it failed. I don't know.
Well, I look at the results and I say, well, these results aren't particularly good, so I infer that the mechanism by which those results were garnered is flawed in some way. So we've got.
Yeah, but do you have like a citation?
Well, which one of the many wrong modern theories would you like me to disprove?
Go ahead, anyone you want, and then just go into detail and give us multiple resources.
I've got something.
Okay, go ahead.
So, Jen, I recall in a past podcast that you said...
Sorry, dear, you cut out for a minute.
You cut out, bud.
Dried up.
You're good.
And I was like, whoa.
You know what? Now. You just cut out during the entire thing that you said.
Can you please repeat?
Oh, sorry. In a past live stream, you contended that the Fertile Crescent is no longer fertile; it's dried up, which is incorrect. The Fertile Crescent comprises a geographical region in the Middle East that is made fertile by 4 rivers.
Okay.
The Tigris, Euphrates, the rivers, and it's the irrigation off those that makes it fertile.
Okay. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying that it was more fertile in the past. It's become desertified.
Why wasn't that so clear,
you're thinking of the empty quarter in Arabia, which is desert. The Fertile Crescent is a different geographical zone, very proximate but different.
What I'm referring to are the abandoned pyramid regions that used to be quite fertile and then became desert shithole.
They still are. Go on Google Earth. You can see the green.
I'm not saying it's 100% desert. I'm just saying it's become more desertified over time.
Has it, though? I don't think it has. The population density is way greater now than it was back, in classic antiquity or early antiquity.
They're importing all their food, though.
I don't think that you're refuting his claim
that's not the
very
best
well.
argument.
I'm not sure that
because we have better technology to feed people and transport water. Like, I'm not arguing that you're wrong. It's just like the fact that there's more people living there in and of itself doesn't prove that, which I think you were saying.
I'm not. I don't know what exactly it is you're disagreeing with me on here. I'm not saying it's the only region.
I'm
that's
disagreeing on you
desertification.
overall. I don't know. This is a random thing I brought up that you were wrong about in the past.
Well, am I wrong that region's become desertified over time?
It kind of sounds like you are, yeah.
All right. Well, I
But
guess
we all agree that deserts are spreading. The deserts that are existing.
This guy's disagreeing with me on that. Like, I don't know what.
Aren't we all
Well,
agreeing
if
that
either
the
of you
deserts are
provide
growing?
sources, then we could see.
No, he's saying that the quote Fertile Crescent is just as fertile as ever, and I'm saying, well, what about all these abandoned, deserted?
Well, what about them? Can you provide sources?
Well, they presumably
what about them? What's the reason for their abandonment?
Desertification.
Provide sources, though.
Well, do I need to? You can look up.
Yes, you do. What?
Well,
what are you talking about? Why would we only take your word?
Confusing
That's
word.
ridiculous.
It doesn't. Certification doesn't mean the increase in desert land.
If those pyramids were built, they had.
Okay, well then just provide sources if it's so easy and it's such a like.
You want me to provide sources that pyramids were built?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, the source that the pyramids were built is that the pyramids still exist today.
No, that's not what is. That's not what's called for. What's called for is you providing evidence that desertification has occurred. Actually.
Well, but also that the places were deserted. I think, right?
Deserted because of an increase in desert land.
Well, but as part of the issue, though,
decrease in
too,
fertility.
It sounds like there's a little bit of a dispute about what area is being referred to, which is going to come down to a matter of definition.
Oh well,
Well,
I've defined that already.
There. Okay,
I've already defined that.
Do you guys accept that in ancient Egypt they had advanced irrigation surrounding the pyramid systems that they have there now?
Advanced for the time in which it occurred, yes.
I don't feel like I have enough information to have a viewpoint.
I think it was aliens, to be honest, so I don't know.
Actually, to ask for proof that the deserts are growing, the big deserts that we know, I thought that was established, but I never questioned it. Like the Sahara Desert, it grows every year, but that doesn't mean that the cities that are at the borders of the Sahara Desert have been deserted just because there's more sand there, basically.
Well, I'm looking it up online now, and it's not really contested that the Fertile Crescent has undergone desertification. Like I'm sort of a bit astounded.
I believe you, but you could show us that.
I'm not sure why this is relevant to this conversation right now.
It's just where the conversation led us.
Sorry? Anyway, yeah, we were talking about reincarnation and souls and stuff, and then we got onto this desert thing. Not sure where you guys want to go. Like, I mean, if you, I'm not sure what it is you want me to say here.
Can we go back to Spiny being a bear in a past life? Was that?
Yes.
Did we
That was
on
much
that?
better.
Yes.
Actually, this was a conversation we sort of had before, which was the question of like this idea of reincarnation, but then also going across species. And I think you argued humans are highest on the totem pole. The whole myth about like cows being the top of the totem is kind of just like a myth.
Would there potentially be a higher top if there's an alien civilization that we are not aware of?
There's another form of human consciousness that is very different, which is enlightenment. So you could argue enlightenment is like a different, evolution.
You sound like my schizophrenic mom.
Hey, your mom is great. Okay, that's a compliment.
I agree. She is great. She's still also schizophrenic. She's amazing. Can I just interrupt to say that our curfew has been extended till Thursday, but nothing else in the press conference is worth reporting.
Fucking hell! When am
Did
I gonna
Wallace
start
say
work
nothing
again?
interesting? That's
Rory,
annoying.
where do you work right now?
This place downtown. It's called Trax.
Trax?
It's a restaurant.
It's a restaurant.
Yeah.
Do you do security or do you do cooking?
I cook.
You cook? Okay. Yeah, I'm still... Okay, so I work at the MIA, and obviously, since there's a Minneapolis in the title, they're not going to open until Waltz explicitly says they will. And so I was told not until after July 4th, which really fucking sucks.
After July 4th.
Yeah,
Jesus
and then like
Christ.
even if that's not real, then like after Labor Day, it's like, dude, really? Even though the MIA is fucking huge, there's people at the gate to like temper the amount of people in, and there's security to enforce 6 feet. They could easily open like right now.
I'm very grateful that the curfew has ended like 2 weeks ago in my area, but I just learned that like yesterday because no one fucking knows what the fuck.
I would never normally like care about curfew, but the National Guard literally shoots people on their property outside their houses here after curfew.
I just thought it was fucking annoying.
It's really
I
crazy how
I
like
can't take my dog out to piss after 10 p.m. Like
But what's the
that's
logic
terrorism.
behind that?
Yeah,
Like,
pretty much.
But what's the logic behind it? Like all of these videos of looting and riots that I've seen so
That's
far,
not
that were in
happening
broad
anymore, though.
daylight.
Not in my city,
Like,
at least.
how does a curfew help with that? Like the ones that
It
I've
doesn't.
seen,
It
they
doesn't
were
at
doing this
all.
in broad daylight. So
The only way it helps is the
doesn't seem
businesses
like
have to close. When the first night curfew happened, the businesses closed within 20 minutes. It was the fastest I've ever seen businesses shut down in my entire life. Even though I've lived through like a natural disaster, businesses shut down faster than in that circumstance. Like, it was really interesting. Like, obviously the threat of the National Guard was like really palpable for people. I don't know. But now people don't seem to be caring as much because people don't really respect the authority of the government or the police, because they don't care about protecting us. They just don't. I don't trust them.
Yeah, police aren't even obligated to protect
I agree.
you, actually.
Yeah, I don't trust them. Like, I am very firmly against abolish the Minneapolis Police Department.
Yeah. What if my cop friends fucking like unadded me on Discord because I didn't suck cop dick enough? I was just like, yeah, if you like start shooting at people because they're
Not
against
surprising.
the curfew, like, yeah, you're the bad person, and
We're not even protesting. We're just trying
That
to
wasn't even
protect our
cops. That was
community.
National Guard.
No, it's both.
like
It's
both.
It
It
is
was both.
both.
It's both. Yeah,
It's both.
they're working together.
You're right,
same
you're right, you're
difference, right? Same, but
It's
different.
just
The
like this
National Guard's
retarded
just
like
scarier.
idea
It's
that
just
like
scarier.
they base
Well,
their
okay.
laws, their morals off of what's legal or not.
The difference, this is part of the conspiratorial angle, is the most important difference between the National Guard and the police is that Trump would be responsible for the National Guard.
Trump's a fucking pussy. Like,
Well, I know,
I
we
changed
all
my
know,
mind
yeah.
as fuck on Trump. Like,
I wish that
Ooh.
his Twitter were his presidency, right? Like, the presidency promised by his Twitter would be great.
I really changed my mind there.
But,
Damn, like,
Yeah, but no, well, and Trump, the candidate, was awesome. Like, that was like, it was the funniest shit ever.
that's not who he is right now.
It's not. No, and honestly, the best way to consolidate it is, like, look at statements Trump made about John McCain during the presidency, right? Like, he's not a fucking war hero. He got captured. How the fuck does that make him a war hero? And then after he dies, he's at the funeral, acting all solemn, and it's like, oh, fuck you. Give McCain's tumor a fucking war
It's
medal.
a common Republican tactic.
Oh, absolutely. They're all communists. Like, the fact that they pretend that they're not is like, it's so insulting. It makes me want to vote Hillary in 2020 just from like
No,
the
it doesn't.
acceleration. as
Don't say
kinda-
that.
No, Hillary is
Don't say
literally a
that.
bug person.
Don't fucking
No.
say that.
I tell you
Hillary
this. Nope.
2020.
Gun to my head. I have to vote Hell yeah, Hill
Hillary's
dog.
legitimately a demon from hell.
That's
She's
right.
the
I want
worst.
Hill on Capitol Hill. I want literal Satan.
Like, even if Trump's a fucking retard, he's still better than her.
We
Yeah, she's
came,
the
we
actual
saw,
worst.
he
She's
died.
worse than Bill
Evil
Clinton.
laugh.
She's the worst.
No, because
Yeah.
I don't want the
She's
Democrats to have any
malevolence
excuse.
in a person. She's the actual worst.
She's
Yeah.
literally the devil. I get it.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's
Yeah,
appropriate.
no,
Therefore,
no,
she
no,
should be
she puts-
president.
She puts the
wore-
devil to
devil.
shame.
Yes.
No, yeah, I
Jesus
want
fucking
everything
Christ.
in its place. I want there to be balance and logic in life. And what's more logical and true to life than to have the literal devil as president? Trump's just not evil enough.
Hillary
Mm.
2020.
I
That's
thought
right,
you were
Hillary
against
2020.
like I thought you were against young boys having genital mutilation. Like, do you think like Hillary Clinton wouldn't mutilate the genitals of every boy she ever encountered?
Well,
I'm sorry.
but those are all Africans.
Oh, so they don't matter. Yeah, fuck.
She,
God damn it, Eric.
since she doesn't have any power to do that to American boys, she just opts to do it to African
Fair.
boys. Like,
So it's okay if it's American, or is that
Well,
bad?
no, here's the thing. I mean, American boys, they're not getting protected either way. I mean, Trump isn't doing anything about it.
Well, no shit, but like she actively
Actively
funds
supported it.
So
yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah. And here's the thing.
I do
How many
not-
it's gonna
BLMers
become
are
like
pro-Hillary?
unpopular before it becomes illegal anyway. So we might as
Yeah.
well help that.
Oh yeah, and no, I was arguing with someone today, and I mentioned that, and she was like, "Yeah, well, this doctor, he got away with doing FGM in America," and I was like, "That doctor's a woman, like that doctor's a woman, and she got away with it because of feminist laws." And she's like, "Citation needed," and I'm just like, can't even.
oh God.
No, people are not like primed to accept that like gynocentrism of any culture. Like that's not, especially right now. They're like, even people who are like, oh, maybe this racial equality is like has some merits or whatever. Like you can't, you know that you can't talk about gynocentrism right now. Like, are
Oh,
you
I know.
fucking
Well, we can't
stupid?
talk about it ever, right? So you're always just like an autist screaming into the wind if you ever mention it in any culture in any circumstance.
Yeah,
so I
I know,
figure,
but
you know what?
I'm
Let's just be
I'm a
that
woman,
person.
and I still get the same response.
Oh
Like,
yeah, no,
Well,
yeah.
not the same response. The response I get is that I am like shilling for men because I want them to fuck me. Like that's the response that it is. But
No way.
Yeah, you're a pick me.
yeah,
Queen,
which
queen,
like I
pick me.
definitely
That's
am
it.
not.
Well, that's the funny thing too, is they throw that accusation at like the honey badgers, who are like all married women. They're like older married women, and like you're just a pick me. And she's like, I've been
I'm not
for
married,
10
but I
years.
also don't fuck men.
Yeah, but like for you, the accusation could in theory have merit because you're like still like a younger
I
unmarried
do have a
woman.
tattoo that
you
says
know?
"sluts rule" because it was a joke.
I think that's my favorite of your
But
tattoos.
that's funny.
It's probably
but yeah, exactly.
yeah,
it's so good.
it's
I
your
don't-
dumbest
like,
tattoo, but it's so
good.
good.
It's so good. I really like it.
And it's
I
not
don't know.
even completely wrong.
Sluts rule. Yeah,
I
it's
just really
it's
like
technically
it.
true. That's right. And it's a fucking stick and poke too.
Yeah, and it's in red, so it's even worse. It's so good. But yeah, like women here will never, like, they can't. I feel like it's a huge part of their identity to feel like men are the worst thing fucking ever. And so if anybody criticizes them, they legitimately feel like they lose a part of their, like, integral being.
Okay, well, and that's why
Like,
I take the very, very popular and socially accepted angle that we need to blame black women more.
Go on.
It
Don't
was
get me
actually
started on that.
it was actually quite saddening that Swiss television today they do this very biased, or I don't even know where they get the information, segment about what happened in America, and
They
they
pulled
show
out
all
their
these
asshole.
they
That's where
show
they get
all
it
of these
from.
black women saying, "Oh, I so hoped not to have a son because he would get killed by the police." Like what? Like you say, Black Lives Matter, but apparently you're not worried about yourself. So this is not essentially a skin color thing. If it's the black men who bear the brunt of this,
It's rational to be
So-
concerned about your offspring.
yeah, but it was just like a weird selection, like just some black mothers He said, "I'm so happy I only have daughters." Like,
Ew.
why? Don't you think you would have been able to raise your son in a way that he could avoid being killed?
It's too
by
much
cops?
work. You're requiring them
smart
to do
black
work.
women
Like,
white
of
men.
course they're not going to do work.
I mean, I'm not saying there's not some insane cops. Like this recent case completely proved that, but
I'm saying
normally, if you don't commit any crimes and you comply with the cops, even in America, the chance of getting killed is not that high.
Okay, I have to disagree with you right here. Like, based on what's happening in Minneapolis and the whole world right now, like, that's not, like, that safe of a thing to say.
Like,
Yeah,
I said
George
normally,
Floyd
like, if
really
you say
did
in the
not-
case of this situation,
was
is not
not-
normally.
Yeah, but, like, that normal that you're talking about is never going to exist again. This is, like,
It exists in other
countrywide revolution.
countries. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
but
know,
the
I
situation in
know.
America is fucked
I do,
up.
I
Like,
do
I
agree
don't
with
know.
you, but in America, that situation's never going to occur again. Like, we're in the midst of a revolution.
Wait, that's never gonna be normal again? You mean?
It's never going to be the way it was. Is
What you
I'm
consider
saying.
to be
Oh,
normal
fuck, okay.
is not going to be again.
Yeah.
I'm not actually.
There's going to be
convinced.
serious, like, legislature reform.
Oh,
You mean
there's gonna be like
after the
police reforms as
Yeah.
well.
after the alt-right wins its race war
I'm not
and
making
gets
any
all of its
statements
terms
in other
legally?
countries. And in other countries, obviously, I'm not going to pretend to know the landscape or whatever. Like, obviously, I would never know that. But in America, the way that it was before is not going to exist again per what's happening now. I
And
firmly believe
what
that.
authority are you?
I'm not convinced. Like,
Your authority.
I would say
There's no
give
argument
it a
Can
month.
I read off the legislation that has happened in Minnesota alone? Like, multiple institutions have severed ties from the Minneapolis Police Department. The initial prosecutor was deemed irresponsible, and so now the Attorney General, who, by the way, I fucking hate and is a shithead, Keith Ellis, but he's charging all 4 cops, like, people on the
Yeah, I
city
heard that.
council
That's
are
good.
saying that they're, like, planning to disband the Minneapolis Police Department. I don't know if you saw the anonymous leaks where they were like, we're going to release all of this shit about the Minneapolis Police Department.
No, I think
Reform
I
will
saw that
happen.
though. No, I think that was actually information from behind a paywall that was leaked before that all got, like, debunked. That's what I heard. I
The
looked into
anonymous
it.
stuff?
Yeah, the
What are you talking
anon
about
shit.
specifically?
Yeah, they threatened. They're like, oh, we're gonna leak all the names of these white supremacist KKK people. Maybe
Well,
you're
that's
talking
irrelevant.
about something
I don't care about
different,
that. I
but-
care about, like, the
like actual
Minneapolis
shit
Police
regarding the
Department.
police department. Yeah.
So, like, I'm a white woman who normally in most of my life has done nothing wrong, but there was, like, a couple of year span where I was a heroin addict and I did do a lot of things wrong. And I don't know. I can just, like, the police department is, like, super corrupt. This reform is really necessary.
I agree.
Oh, I agree.
Yes.
Yeah, the police are out of fucking
It sounds
control.
completely reasonable.
Like, I completely support this entire reform thing happening. I'm in a community where it's literally, it brings me almost to tears how well organized people are and the donations people are making and the effort people are making to protect their own communities. Like, we're definitely showing we don't need police, and any police that have anything, like, there's a track record with them doing anything wrong, like, it's going to be met with scrutiny like never before. Like, there will be a reform.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I definitely
The police have been out of control for, like, how long? Like, honestly, like, it's...
Well, Chauvin was just charged with second-degree murder, and, like, I know some, like, dumb people are going to call for a higher charge, but they would never get a conviction on any charge higher
Or
than
they
second
went to
degree.
second degree because of around
I
here
think
it says it
what
was
we can
third
hope
degree.
for is that the police.
Third degree was the initial charge, yes, but it was just raised to second
But
degree.
that was when they didn't charge
Yeah.
the other 3 cops with anything, which like
There's no way it would.
especially the guy who was on the initial video, the Asian cop who just didn't listen and didn't try to tell the guy, hey, get your fucking knee off of that guy's neck. There's two policemen on top of the rest of his body. You don't need to do that.
There were 3
This is-
others. Not
Well,
just
okay, and
the
Yeah,
two,
here's
they
the
got
thing.
they
the
got
three
charged with
others.
aiding and abetting.
The thing
And
that's so
I think
crazy
that
about
the
it,
police chief
though.
could be charged as well.
Yeah, I mean, aiding and abetting, I think, makes a lot of sense given the scenario. The issue, though, is that when I heard people arguing, "Oh, this entire video was staged,"
Well,
like
no.
on face value, I know it seems ridiculous, but if you look at the actual footage, that does explain just like the weird indifference. There's like a weird insistence on keeping your
Especially
neck
the
on
way
a
Chauvin reacted. It's like
yeah, no reaction.
I don't.
And if
Yeah,
and you're
no
sitting
reaction.
well because you originally said to me you were like, "Oh, he seems autistic," which is like, yeah, I could see someone who's like not responding to any of these like social cues of like
Yeah, but
let's
like
not
people
murder
are
someone in broad
screaming at
daylight
him.
and
It's like
screaming
if
at
I
him
was
and him
him,
like not being
I
affected
would.
by that at all, right?
Yeah, I would
but
get
if you
anxious.
think
It's like,
think
is he,
oh
like
if he's a crisis actor, that also makes sense.
I didn't
The
even-
conspiracy theory is
honestly-
going nuts about.
I know the
No, I did-
tinfoil's
I-
getting thick. We're nearing I think the end of the stream here, so I figure let's lay on the tinfoil nice and thick and see where it leads us.
I'm with
No,
you.
no. Like, I believe in conspiracy theories and crisis actors. However, in this specific situation, the only way that would have merit would be the people driving in the communities, because I'm in the communities. I know that there are people driving, like, posing as white nationalists, but like I've been on the internet forever running in white nationalist crowds, and it's definitely not them. Like, it's either the police or it's someone else. You know, like it's not a legitimate organization, like an independent militia that is just like whatever.
Yeah, well, because the bullshit thing is when you go libertarian and you're in favor of cryptocurrency and you like talk to the 3%ers and you're like pro-gun or whatever.
Well, I
the whole
also
stereotype
understand,
there is anti-government, right?
I also understand the whole like eradicate black people like mindset. Like, I understand the merits there. Like, I do.
Well, yeah,
But-
and honestly, the I think the Steelman version of that argument is like just have a little bit of segregation.
My priority,
which is
as a
not the
Minneapolis-
same as historical segregation. Historical segregation was government services, and instead we just don't have government services, and then let private communities freely associate, and then it solves everything. But no, that's too
My
much to ask
priority-
for. That's too racist. That's whatever.
There's one thing that I couldn't gather so far. Maybe there's new information that there's like this strong drive in the media saying that this
Well, the
what was
media is
his name?
completely
The guy who actually had the knee on the neck of Floyd.
Derek Chauvin.
Sorry, Derek, that he has the same name, but I only
Chauvin.
saw. Like, I watched the original video, and I only saw a psychopath. I did not see
Yeah.
how there's a proof that he does this because he's
Well,
a
he
racist.
has
He
has
might
a
be a
record.
racist, but
No, he has a record.
yeah,
of
if
killing
there's more
other
information,
people.
please tell me. But
No, yes. Okay, so he has a record of killing other people. Let me Google this right now. I can bring up the exact cases.
I heard he had a
He has
lot
a
of
record of
accusations.
being-
killing other people
I
He had
didn't-
over
yeah, I
10
didn't-
yeah.
cases
He's
of
been
police
involved in
brutality.
multiple shootings.
Okay, shootings, but did he kill him?
Hold on, let me like find something. I'm on CNN right now, which is like
what
you
I was
know.
informed with. What I was informed with is that he wasn't involved in other killings, but he had over a dozen cases of reported police brutality under his belt. And so take that how you will. It's just
yeah, but I'm still looking for like I can see the psychopath
I'm gonna
angle
find
from
it.
the
I'll
video
find
it's
it.
in of itself, but
There's
but
several.
the fact
at
people
least
just
five,
jump to
maybe
the
7
racist
complaints.
angle immediately, and I don't condone racism at all. It's just if I see an Asian guy not telling a white guy to get his knee off a black guy, I just see two incompetent cops or corrupt cops and an innocent, or maybe not. It doesn't really matter. Like whatever the context was, you don't do that. But I don't see from the video. I don't see racism immediately
I'm trying
because
to
it's
find
just
it.
3
Hold
people on the original video. So if there's proof that this guy's a racist, that would explain more. But the
There
immediate
is. There
reaction
is.
was, before more information was known, was this was a racist cop killing a black dude. And
Yeah,
he
but
probably
you
is like a,
clearly
but,
you don't even live in America, so like to live in Minneapolis, it clearly like I am not the kind of person who would like stand up for black people normally, but like this clearly 100% was the
Yeah,
that,
but
like
statistically,
Oh, yeah, it was
if you're
obvious.
talking about arrests for violent
I'm trying to find
crime,
a list of like issues Chauvin was related in.
Yeah.
I can't find it, but I will. Like it exists. I'm just trying to find like a comprehensive list that's in like
There is a
order
list.
that
Yeah,
you can,
I-
like,
I know there's a list.
There is one. I'm just
But-
trying to find it.
what I want to mention though is that if we're looking at things not from an anecdotal perspective but from the numbers, if you control for arrests for violent crime, white males are actually more likely to be killed slightly compared to blacks. And of course, the numbers per capita, like per like population, it skews much more towards black people. But that's, you know, if you control for the amount of crime they do. And I don't know if I want to necessarily endorse this perspective, but I am going to suggest here that, let's say, you know, you're a police officer, you're kind of naive, you don't know what the social climate is, right? You didn't go to college and get a 4-year degree in sociology to know how all these crime stats work and how to properly interpret FBI statistics in a non-racist way. And then you're going out there and you're responding to all these crimes, and routinely, ludicrously disproportionately, you're dealing with violent black people all the time. And then eventually you just snap, and then you're like, man, this fucker, this violent black thug, is like the 10th fucking person like this I've had to deal with this week. And yeah, I'm just gonna fucking kneel on his neck and fucking murder him. Like, I can, you know what I mean? I get that, like, the number of incidents like that you have to experience, it's not infinite, okay? It's some finite number is gonna push you there.
I'm trying to find this information, which I know is real, about like the complaints about Chauvin in his job, like every single complaint against him, and I can't find it. Like DuckDuckGo, Google, any search engine is like not giving me these answers. That's like really suspicious. I have to say.
They do that.
I mean, I've seen this information multiple times before. Like, it's kind of concerning. Like, I know I'm not wrong. Like, I wouldn't have this opinion otherwise. Like, I have to, like, go back on my Facebook feed to find this.
I can back you up, Sydney.
I
can
only insist very strongly that I don't condone what happened at all, but
I'm not saying
I was really upset when the second video came out. Like, they showed it on CNN and someone had the full video. Like, he resisted getting out of the car, and then the second video cut out when he started resisting again. It doesn't justify anything, of course. But I really don't understand the American mainstream media.
It's because the cops have so many instances. There's so many instances of unwarranted brutality that we're fed up. It's not just this.
But why would they assume that people would not be as upset if they showed him resisting arrest? None of that would justify killing the dude.
Wait. What did you just say? Like, I don't understand what you're saying. You don't understand why this would be the breaking point?
No, I don't understand why the media, like, I would see this as a breaking point.
The media is irrelevant.
If you showed the full video.
The media
but I don't understand why the media is trying to.
Irrelevant.
Why the media is fanning the flames by
because
cutting
they have
out
a
the
financial
video.
incentive. They have a financial incentive. The media is totally irrelevant to this.
Well, no, because I think the media has an
It makes
incentive.
people more angry if you frame it a different way. It makes people more angry, and it shouldn't. But people are like that.
Yeah, but the people who are paying attention are not paying attention to the mainstream media. They know it's poisoned. Like, why are you even talking about the mainstream media? Like, only boomers are listening to that. Like, it's not relevant at all. The mainstream media is completely fucking irrelevant. Like, all of this
It's being pushed by Facebook and Google on YouTube.
Yes, it's exclusively
So non-boomers also see the
It's
clips.
exclusively live on these platforms, which in itself is dangerous. Like, it is.
Like,
it's dangerous.
Mainstream media should not be on YouTube.
But this specific circumstances happened with
Why shouldn't they?
Facebook in different countries where there's been like a political uprising and the coordination has like existed only because of Facebook, and Facebook has been basically responsible for these people organizing. This has happened in other countries before.
Facebook basically helped spark the Arab Spring.
Not basically, like intentionally.
Yes.
Ironically,
it caused the worst system now.
Yeah.
Than it was
Yes,
6 years
exactly.
ago.
That's the same thing that's happening here now. Yes. It's you can't not use this. The apps we're using outside of Facebook are like Discord and this app called Signal, but yeah, no, you're completely right. Like Facebook tracks all this information and it's really scary. Like people who post anything on Facebook about this, which is just really scary.
So it's Facebook's fault, not the people participating in the uprising's fault?
No, how would you possibly conclude that by what I said? Take me through your reasoning, please.
Well, that's how I interpret what you said. You said Facebook.
I know, but how?
Spring.
No, that's completely ridiculous.
Sydney, can I back up your point that you were making earlier? Because I
Yes.
just did some Google research too.
Yes.
So you were trying to provide evidence for the
Chauvin.
Derek
Yeah.
Chauvin being a piece of shit cop.
Yep.
And
Did you find evidence of that?
ironically, it's from CNN.
CNN? Oh, damn.
Yep. So I don't know how you want to take that, but they have an article about 18 prior.
But it's been scrubbed otherwise. Like, it's hard to find, right? Like, it took you a couple minutes.
No, it's on the first page of my Google search.
Really? I'm using
Yeah.
DuckDuckGo. Maybe it's my
Google knows your
location.
tastes.
Maybe Google knows my location in the middle of these riots. That's really scary. Alexa.
Yeah, did you see that,
you
on
gotta
the
use a
Twitter when-
VPN to get a neutral reading on certain things.
Well, I've
think I
seen a
saw-
lot of like evidence that VPNs aren't actually that effective.
Well, maybe neutral is too big of a word, but it helps. Like, they always try to figure out who you are, and it's really easy.
I'm
And they
sorry,
try to
Rory,
keep-
continue. What did you find
Yes.
about Chauvin?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, go on, please.
Oh, sure. Well, I've got a CNN article, and what it highlights here is that he had 18 prior reported cases of police brutality from this one guy, Derek Chauvin.
Who did not live in the he didn't live in Minneapolis. He lives in the suburbs. He was a Minneapolis cop that didn't live here.
I suppose that's not very surprising.
Because none of the cops live here. Like, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This is just my community. I'm only angry because I want a good life.
So, yeah, police should probably be policing their own communities in which they live. That would probably...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, right? Like, that makes perfect sense. It's not that radical.
Would probably be a lot more harmonious. I agree.
I
that
don't
radical.
know. Like, look at places like Baltimore or Chicago.
Yeah, no,
where
exactly.
There's a
So
lot
if they
of
lived
black
in Baltimore,
cops killing black people, and that's never becomes a big news story because it's not a white cop killing a black person. I'm sorry, but that's my observation from that. Statistically,
Yeah, but you're not in America. Like, what? Like, no. It would definitely help. What are you talking about?
it doesn't seem to help in Chicago.
I say if you
Chicago's
measure
What's
things
the
racially,
percentage of Chicago cops living in Chicago?
that's one of the
Like,
ironic
provide
things,
us with that
though.
statistic?
Like Minneapolis.
Like one of BLM's demands, right, is they're like, we want more black cops, and the irony behind that is
Don't
that
talk
that
about
would
BLM. Like,
it'll
I don't care
statistically
about
lead
them.
to more black people getting shot because black people are black cops are more likely to be like,
I
like, fuck
support
this
the
guy.
Minneapolis Police Department being defunded, but I don't support BLM. Like,
No, it's just like the apparently, like, it's been a while since I read the statistic myself, but apparently most cops that kill black people are black cops or minority cops. Like, I don't think the statistics said how many of them were black, but
In what scope, though? What are you talking about? In all of America? In a specific state? In a specific
Yeah, I think
region?
in America,
Like,
those
what does
are
that
like
mean?
that's probably FBI stats, so probably just America in general.
Like, what do you
Because-
mean?
in a majority black community, a lot of the cops are, I guess most
That's
of the
not
cops will be
specific
black
enough.
as well.
What do you mean?
Like Derek said, I only read the FBI statistics.
Yeah, but tell me, like, verbatim what it says.
It's been a while. I don't remember
Well,
the
look
numbers.
it up. If you're citing something and you don't want to, like, cite it exactly, just look it up. Like, tell me what it says verbatim.
I think the easiest, most relevant stats is going to be everything that was linked in Alt-Hype's recent video. Because he did make a pretty compelling case about all of this, which is that, race is a huge
Yeah, but, like,
red
where
herring
stats come from are really important. Like...
Oh, sure, and a lot of it's like official government statistics, and then some of it's some meta-analyses.
But even that stuff is flawed sometimes. I'm just
sure.
curious. I
Yeah,
just want to
this
know.
is
I'm
just
not
the problem of
disregarding what
soft
he's
science,
saying. I'm
yeah.
not disagreeing with him. I'm just asking him to cite.
Yeah,
where
it's
it came
it's
from.
just
That's it.
like the fact that I haven't looked up the FBI statistics for a couple of years. It took me like half an hour to find the accurate ones back then. So
It's not hard to find. That's unfortunate. Like, Derek, you know that I'm not prone to, like you're not, like, believing this kind of stuff. I just want evidence. I'm just trying to be fair.
Evidence.
I guess
it's
my
a
issue
fair
is, like-
ask to make, but
What
Like,
I'm saying
I'm just
is,
asking you to back
okay,
up your claim.
the
That's
only
it.
incentive
Like-
I can think of for the police to, like, cover up and defend, like, racist activity of police is just because there's so much policing that gets targeted at groups that just tend to be high crime, such that if they want to not have to fire and rehire people constantly in order to make their operation work, then they have to do it. That's the only explanation
that was
I can
true.
think
Okay,
of.
like, I never worked for the police, obviously, but I did work for an airport where it was very expensive for people to train anyone who even had a normal job. Like, I had a barista job that's really normal, but it was like a lot of money to train me and give me a security badge to work that job. And so that makes perfect sense to me, where, like, the output of it, like, doesn't make any sense to, like, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, well, because for example, like if a black person, or sorry, if a cop tries to police the black community in a way that's then going to be like bad optics, like they're so prone to causing these kinds of issues.
Well,
They're
I
so
also
prone to
believe that
causing social unrest
if
that
a white cop is in a black community and they do everything completely correctly, they can just be accused of having bad optics.
Yeah,
I believe
exactly,
that too.
exactly.
Yeah,
so that risk comes there, and then that's going to
I'm not
create
trying
an
to be like a
incentive for them to
social- like,
cover it up.
Like,
Yeah. So this is
You
the
know.
irony, though. The irony is that a lot of the talking points where people talk about, like, this isn't really a racialized issue, you could make the argument from
It really
a
isn't,
gendered
though.
perspective. You could, but I don't know if that's necessarily even
You
the right way to go with
could,
it.
but, like, that's not that smart to do right now.
Well, no,
Like-
I get that it's not an adjustable narrative, but if we're looking in terms of, like, the one that would lead to the truth and lead to kind of de-escalating
Derek, shut the
things.
fuck up.
No, I'm
Like-
right. I'm totally right about this. But the
Yeah,
issue
but
is
that's
that
that's really, you need to know when to step back. Like,
no, but the promotion of the race-based narrative is going to incentivize cops to cover up race-based crimes, or I guess racially perceived
Derek,
crimes perceived that way.
Derek, you're retarded.
That's true. I'm sorry. That's a 1000% true thing I just said.
Derek, you're retarded.
It's true. I'm sorry. The race narrative is like it's
Okay, like,
complete
Derek,
bullshit.
you
Derek,
know,
repeat your assertion.
as a person who understands
Repeat your
other
assertion,
people, if
please.
you tried to bring that up as an issue during these protests where people have, like, a high likelihood of being very, like, emotional or whatever, like, you you know, as a
Okay,
person
but
who's
that I'm not
empathetic,
saying you
not...
just shout that at random people. Like I get that random people are
Yeah, but you're
retarded.
not here, and you're saying that, like, just shut up. You know, like, you know that I mean, like, shut up. You, like, can you just try to, like...
Can I step in?
That wasn't
Yes, Rory.
coherent.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
People may have been paying attention to other things. Derek, what is your assertion?
What do you mean? Well, what I just said, right? What I said is that if people promote
That's
narratives
not
that this is
Derek.
all based in racism, then that's going to create an incentive for the police to cover it up.
I gotta say, for me and Rory to agree for several hours, I gotta say...
No, what I said isn't even that controversial. I think that's correct.
What are you fucking talking about? It's retarded.
No, I'm
He's right.
saying that there is an incentive for police to cover up these things because of the racialized nature of it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
That's
yeah,
what
yeah,
I said
yes,
that like
yeah,
4 fucking
okay.
times, and you're sitting here calling me
That's not what
retarded
you
over
just
it.
said, though. That's not
Yes,
what you
it
just
is.
said.
God damn.
No, it
Yes,
isn't. You said...
Yes, it is.
No.
Yes, it is.
Come on.
I feel like we're in the same room
Turns out
again.
it's not easy to find that statistics, as you said. I
I
only
don't even-
find statistics about how many black people kill cops, and it's not what I'm looking for.
That's an interesting thing. I would be interested to know that in Minneapolis.
Because
Like,
black cops,
I
they're not
want to know
as
that,
worried
yeah.
about being called racist, so of course
There's
they're
not
gonna
that
be
many
more
black
likely.
cops here, like, that I've seen. I would be interested to
There
know
are
the
not.
percentage.
There are
Oh, I
not
know there
very many
are,
black
but,
cops.
like...
Dude, and they're gonna be the first
I'm
ones to
agreeing
be
with
like,
you,
yeah,
Cindy, I'm
man, the
agreeing.
black community's fucked. I want to shoot them up. Like, they're gonna be the first ones to like be real about it because they're uninhibited. Like, it's just true. I'm.
No, I think you're wrong.
Weeaboo Jones says, I feel like this whole thing with these protests could be a psyop for something else. Yes, that's been, I feel like at the end of the day, that's the conspiracy of all of, it's been kind of like a retard BattleBots conspiracy battle here, and I feel like that's the one that's winning. The most tenuous and insane one, which is basically the government planned everything. I think that's the one we're coming
That's
out with.
not
at the end.
insane. I'm
That's
clapping
the
in real
one.
life. That's not insane.
Like the number
I
one
hope-
shit
that
tier
is
one is
actually
it's all
what's
white
happening.
supremacists. And we're like, no, it's not white supremacists, it's the
No,
government
no,
posing
that's
as
the
white
most
supremacists.
ridiculous one. Are you
Yeah,
fucking
exactly.
kidding me?
That's what
White
I said.
supremacist organized
I called
everything
it
is the
shit
most-
tier. Yes, I called it shit tier. That's what I'm saying. And then let's see, the next one
It's
after that
only the
was
police.
BLM and Antifa, which is also a little bit retarded, but less retarded than the
Antifa
white
is
supremacist
not responsible
narrative.
for this.
I
have
blame
to
them
say.
for everything. They're,
I
they're all
hate
commies
Antifa.
all the way down.
I think they are a terrorist organization, but they specifically are not part of this. I have to say
I
it.
threw away every
Hot take.
I
t-shirt
don't
with
know.
too much
Maybe.
black and too much
No,
red on it.
no. Are you in Minneapolis? Hot take.
No,
Antifa's not part of this.
But it's not just Minneapolis anymore.
Rory, what do you think? Antifa's not part of this. It's people
Antifa
LARPing
is
as
part.
Antifa.
No, Antifa is part. Absolutely.
If people
I don't think so.
I think there is some Antifa, honestly. Like,
Maybe a very, very, very like
oh my God! The leftist culture in the Twin Cities is so.
That's not Antifa though, dude. You know I hate that
It
as
is
well, and you
such
know
a
that's not
reflection of
Antifa.
the East Coast, West Coast shit.
It's not Antifa though. It's
How
just
do you
like
define the
it's
Antifa, though?
neo-Marxist. It's just neo-Marxist.
Well, that is
Like,
Antifa.
I mean, the actual American Antifa, in my eyes, is
Yeah,
these
but what do
rich
you
college
know about
kids.
anything?
You haven't established that I don't know anything, so
Yeah,
let's
but you're
just
not
leave it
here,
be,
is
but
why I'm saying that. I'm not saying that you're not
that's
intelligent.
almost like an argument from authority, but let's leave that there.
No, I think that
Most
all of
Antifa in America
Friggin,
that
I
I've
think
seen
you have a
and
valid
around
viewpoint.
here,
I want to hear you. Please go on.
most Antifa in America that I've seen in protests prior to this, and Antifa in Germany, Switzerland, and Austria that I've seen, are actually upper middle class and rich and upper class kids
what I'm
LARPing
saying,
as
though.
Antifa.
You're correct.
So I'm
but
wrong
that-
because I
that-
don't
that
know
level
shit,
of
but I'm right.
organization-
I don't know. Like I don't hold a gripe, but that's just
I
hear me out before you
I-
criticize me,
Megan,
please.
I can very peaceably tell you how you're incorrect. And that is that in America, especially in leftist cities like Minneapolis, like Portland, Oregon, like Eugene, Washington, whatever. Um, the left wing isn't just a classist. It isn't just defined by class. There are very many individuals who would adhere to the far left and Antifa and their ideology without being designated to a particular social class. And we are very much seeing that.
I still stand my point that people who are going out as Antifa are, compared to the old Antifa, are LARPing as Antifa.
LARPing. It's beyond LARPing at this point, mate. They want to actually overthrow the system.
Oh, yeah.
They have, that's their intended goal, and they believe they're working towards that goal. It isn't just LARPing, man.
They're talking about, like my leftist friend is talking about, the revolution's here. We're gonna fucking kill all the cops and create a fucking Marxist utopia. They're serious.
Honestly, if I were part of Antifa, I would LARP as an undercover Fed LARPing as Antifa.
What?
That's smart.
Right? Because then people say, oh my god, look at this white supremacist Fed LARPing as Antifa. The government's evil, we need to overthrow it. But secretly I was Antifa the whole time. Right? Literally all the things the government's being accused of are all the things Antifa wants. And it's almost as though every single thing that Antifa and BLM and the Democrats and the Communists and the Republicans advocate for is all the same thing, which is, as Weeaboo Jones has mentioned in the cult, as Paulo mentioned in the chat, that they're all just satanic pedophile vampires. And it's just, when you really go all the way to the bottom of it, that's all it is. It's the goddamn Pizzagate people, and everybody else is their pawns.
But also, I wouldn't even want to argue if they're LARPing or if they're real Antifa, because there's been reports of people coming into the riots from the suburbs, and that kinda seems like a bad thing to do. It's already bad if the people who live there are doing that, but if you come in and help destroy those communities, I've seen so many videos of people crying that they don't know where they're gonna get their groceries for the next few weeks because every store has been looted and burned down. Yay! That's so great for that community.
It's because they're fucking retarded.
See, because their ideology would have that, would have the very same functions of society, replaced by something else. According to the communist far left ideology, it'd be replaced by something else.
It's just
and they all
don't
imagine
care
they're on
about
top
people
of
that
it.
jumping the gun.
They all imagine that after society gets destroyed, they're going to be the ones who get to recreate everything in their image, as though it's that simple. Which again, that's the nice white pill from all of this, is that now that people are having to face this reality that police are unreliable, they're creating their own alternatives. And these are a lot of the same alternatives that the Ancapistanis have been pimping for decades, that now people are kind of forced to take more seriously. And I think that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, I think, we can, there's not nothing to be positive about.
Oh, come on, Derek. What do we have to be happy for?
We have, the government might get overthrown in favor of capitalist principles. Because what are people mourning, right? Because people are actually really upset that businesses are being destroyed, right? People are really upset over having their jobs and their livelihoods destroyed. They're really upset over not having money, over not having capital, over not having materials.
Yeah.
And what are the things people are blaming? They're blaming mostly government action. So I think there actually is quite a lot on the table that gives people who are more libertarian, more property rights oriented, quite a lot to point to and say, hey, if you didn't get it before, you know, maybe now there's a little bit more hope.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
But unfortunately, what's going to end up happening is people are going to say, no, we can't have capitalism, we can't have libertarianism because it's racist. And they're going to believe it's racist, even if every single fact and every single statistic argues that that's a retarded narrative that makes no sense. So,
Perhaps.
and that's why I hope all of the cops and all of the anti-racists just like kill each other, and then both of my biggest problems are solved.
I still have a strong feeling that this will just subside, and things will go back to the status quo. Like at this point, all of this lashing out seems like.
Oh, I think Sydney
like
fell out of the chat somehow. She said she needed a new link. That's weird.
Weird.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
this
she's
new
gone.
Hangouts is like goofy. Yeah, I
And
think that's why things got so quiet.
This Google Meet thing is just having like some kindergarten problems.
Well,
Doesn't know where to poop or pee.
The nice thing about it is that I can individually mute people now. Because I mentioned this earlier, people said, are you a boomer? Why can't you mute or boot people from your Hangouts? And I was like, no, I literally can't. I literally don't have the ability to do that. And
I
people
just
didn't
wish they would
believe me.
add
They
the
didn't
option
believe me,
to,
and they called me a liar. And it's not true. You literally can't.
Yes.
And then this happened on Nick Rekieta's stream, when he had that retard on who started like doxing people, and then Nick was like, I can't boot him, and I'm like, yeah, you can't boot him because you're using Hangouts. I know the struggle.
I think the argument is like for the whole racism thing with capitalism is that if you don't interfere in markets, then resources are shared unequally amongst races, which is then attributed to racism.
Yeah, no, 1000%. That's exactly what happens. Yeah.
I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying that that's why these people will basically always have a gripe. They're not going to stop hating things because things will never reflect what they want it to look like, which is this like workers' utopia thing.
Yeah, they have to want something different. They have to want. They have to at least be able to see what's good, while like coping with the fact that it's going to lead to inequality.
Mm-hmm.
Well, inequality is natural, so
Yeah.
to think you can abolish it is stupid. It's just a question: what form does the inequality take? And that's what people need to be focused on, rather than thinking about abolishing inequality, which.
Yeah, well, because does the fact that Bill Gates is, you know, rolling around in a pile of money somewhere, does that bother you? Does that make you distressed on a day-to-day basis? Right, this idea that other people are just rich, like that doesn't bother me. Like,
in of itself, it doesn't bother me at all. But when you look at what he's doing in Africa.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that that's the principle. That's the thing that people just can't accept, is they're like, I have a problem, and the fact that somebody else has money is my problem now. Because they have this like zero-sum game approach to things, because they believe that everything is colonialism. And like that's the thing, is this is very ideological. It's not something inherent in people's DNA or their IQ or whatever. It's something that's taught to them by basically elites who are trying to like sow division within the country, I think.
Well, that's in fact. Nobody can argue that the education system is basically Marxist propaganda and communist propaganda. So yeah, people hate themselves because they've been blamed for colonialism. It's in the appeal of that narrative is that it's extremely simplistic, and people can feel like they understand what's going on. And people want to know, they want to have a feeling like they know what's going on, and this sort of gives them quick answers. They're wrong answers, but it still gives that feeling of, yeah, I know what's going on here.
Yeah, and I think that's part of coping, right? It gives them a kind of an immediate relief to their problems, to think that they have some idea of what's happening and then some control over it.
Well, that's why people embrace religion. I mean, what is religion if not a way of dealing with cognitive dissonance? Like, if something bad happens, oh, well, God did it. If something good happens,
Easy
oh, well, God
answers.
did it. It's an easy answer thing, and it's quite dangerous because it causes people to basically hate people who could help them.
But I just don't get it. Like, there's so many issues that are connected to so many government programs and laws and decisions. Like, the welfare state in America seems to do a lot of harm right now. Has been for a long time. And Germany just started a similar welfare state like 16 years ago with the Hartz IV. And you can see problems growing out of really funding single motherhood and giving them more money the more babies they churn out. And these people that come out of that situation, they tend to be societally low functioning, low chance of career. And then the people say, oh, you're discriminating against these people because the statistics shows that they are doing worse. Well, actually, this is just a bad thing. Like, you should incentivize single motherhood, and having more children as a single mother will give you more good gifts. But
Where do you live?
Switzerland.
He's in Switzerland.
We
Switzerland? Really?
kind of do that here too, but Germany is on the next level there.
Yeah, but Germany is America, so like I would expect that. But Switzerland, I don't know much about. Can you elaborate on the social policies in Switzerland for me?
Well, it's to put it simply, we have switched to a system where if you are an unemployed person, a single male, you're basically forced to go into a government housing program and government job program.
What's the difference between being a single male and a single female?
If you're a single female, technically you would be subjected to the same treatment, but once you have a kid,
Yeah.
they make sure that you have a living space that is enough for you to treat that child nicely. And the more children you have, like, basically we will give you a house if you have 4 children.
Do you have universal health care?
No, we are all forced to pay for healthcare.
Privatized? Okay.
Yeah. We are forced by law to buy privatized healthcare.
You don't have to answer, but what is your career?
I'm a computer scientist.
Okay, so I would expect that would be kind of like higher income than a normal like person at my level would be.
It's all right.
Do you feel like you live comfortably or do you struggle?
I would say I am okay.
Are you a
Like
single
that.
person? You're a bachelor?
I might have to stop you there. Where are you going with this line of questioning? Like,
I'm just asking if you're a single person household.
no, you've been asking me a series of questions. Like, I would like to ask you why you're asking me these questions.
Oh, I'm just interested. Do you think
Can
I
I
have a different agenda?
Yeah, no, I will
I'm
say.
not trying to make a point or anything.
Fleegan,
I'm
I
just
think
curious.
she is just interested, but the tone is inquisitive.
I am just
I think
interested.
on
I don't
accident.
have like a point to make or anything. Like I don't have like a point.
I'm a person who is just
I don't know
biding
what your
his
country is
time on this
like.
planet.
I'm literally only
I'm
curious.
I'm not bad off, but I could be
I
better.
don't like. I'm literally not trying to like make a point. I am only asking out of curiosity.
So,
Like, please
Fleegan-
don't take it as me being like.
It's
This
sorry,
should be better.
I've just been in conversations.
Oh
where
no,
this
that's fine.
was
Like
going
I'm
places.
sorry if I like seemed aggressive in my questioning. That's not how I meant it. I'm just like I've never talked to someone from your country before, so I'm just curious.
So,
like,
Fleegan,
that's it. Like
you are comfortable. You buy the things that you want in life, yeah?
No, I guess I'm comfortable, but I don't ask for much. I don't have a. I'm a very
Okay.
money
You have the
conserving
computer
person.
that you want. You have Netflix or whatever.
No,
You are comfortable. Yeah.
well, I wouldn't put it that way, but I just try to fly below the radar.
What do you mean by that? Do you mean like a mainstream idea is something you don't want to be a
No,
part
I
of?
mean financially. Like around here, it is expected by the government that if you want to have a family with one child, both parents have to work 100%, which is around 45 hours a week. And I personally
So
would
what if
like
you
to
don't
have a
want to do
family, but
that? What if you don't want
I
to do
don't
that
want to put
though?
up that work. So unless
What
I
if you
meet
want
a
to
woman
stay
that
like
I
a
fall
single
madly in
person?
love with, I will not do that. Like I'm not trying to be like this. I know a lot of people who just work their ass off just to be attractive financially because we have this hypergamous culture where
So like what if you want to be an
Hypergamous.
independent person, like
hypergamous, yeah.
working entirely on your own? Like how would your government treat that?
Oh, my
You're an
government
entirely
is
autonomous
becoming.
person.
That's illegal.
What?
Like
How?
they there are certain limitations to freedom here. Like if I found a woman that I wanted to have a kid with and we both raised the money to actually have that, we
Yeah,
wouldn't be
but what
allowed
if you
to
didn't want
homeschool.
that? What if you just wanted to be a bachelor indefinitely? Like, can you do that legally?
Well, of course, but like I saw with my great uncle, if even in his generation, if you are a single man in your 80s, you're financially fucked unless you played by the rules. Like the freedom ends when you go into pension.
How different are the tax brackets?
Well, I think above 120,000 a year, you pay less taxes the more money you make. Like we have like this rich people get a better treatment system.
So they're not telling you not to do something, but a specific way of life is so incentivized that it would be stupid to do anything else.
It's like a limit on how far you can veer from the expected situation.
What's your opinion on that?
I don't like it very much.
Why do you disagree with it?
I think we should have more freedom to choose our lifestyle. Like if someone wants to.
Do you feel like it's too monotonous?
That's monotony is a very bad standard in my book because that's really on you to make your life less monotonous.
Well, why do you disagree with it?
Because of the financial standard that's so high. Like people always look at Switzerland and Europe, they say, "Oh, you make so much money," but they never look at the cost of living and the cost of doing certain things that you might like to do.
Is there
They're
a movement
insanely high.
supporting you?
Come again?
Is there a movement supporting you, or do you independently think this?
There is no actual movement. There's I never liked the right wing. There's some people on the right wing side who criticize this, but I don't like to associate with them because they also have a ton of views that I disagree with.
Can you describe right wing in your country and then also left wing?
Well, around here we have it's been changing really much since I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, the left wing was basically unions, and we have to fight for workers' rights. And the right wing was like, no, the employers should have more rights, and like a couple of those standard things, like an actual dichotomy in a sense. But now it's just like everyone agrees that everyone should be a slave to the current state of capitalism, and the left wing just focuses on like gay marriage and stuff like that.
Is there a
Which I
name for
don't-
this party?
The left wings around here,
Yeah, is there a name for the party?
SP is like what was the Socialist Party, I think.
That would make sense, but what is there a specific name? Like
That's,
that you would
that's what they
elect?
call themselves.
The Socialist Party?
I think so, yeah. That
Okay.
would be the English translation.
Okay, I'm sorry. Continue.
While the right wing, the conservative, would be the Swiss People's Party.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the actually just the Wikipedia page for taxation in Switzerland, which is kind of interesting because they have this chart of like tax revenue based on percentage of GDP, which obviously isn't a very like complete picture. But they have the USA is at the bottom of it along with Switzerland. So overall, like taxation is lower in Switzerland, but they still have a lot of the trappings that like, the US and other
Derek, can you
European
tell me the
country has.
percentage?
The percentage?
Yeah.
It looks like it's around 25%, a little bit higher, which is like
Okay.
ridiculous, fucking ludicrous. Like, does anybody legitimately believe that 25% of what you earn is like worth what the government gives you? I don't believe that. I think that's fucking stupid. Like a socialist will say, of course, the government gives me everything. I'd pay 80% or whatever. In actuality, they'd force someone else to pay for that. But then there is an issue of like if you own a corporation, that all gets taxed, which is double taxation, and then they have like progressive taxes on other forms of like income and whatever, which it'd be great to see more places that are like tax free because it would solve a lot of issues. But obviously I'm kind of beating a dead horse with that one and kind of preaching to the choir a little bit. So, but yeah.
It's just there's a wasteland of money to be made until you reach the tax bracket where you can actually profit.
Yeah, because that was weird, because you did describe it in like an opposite way, where like at some point you actually have an advantage if you like get over that threshold.
You kind of do, but then there's like all these mechanics. Like friends of my mother, they officially live in 𝙍𝙬𝙍𝙍. 𝙍𝙬𝙍𝙬 is like where all of the rare earths are traded. Like I think 20% of rare earths are traded there. So they have ridiculously low taxes because the canton, the state of Switzerland, there just makes ridiculous amount of money of taxing the people who trade. So they incentivize rich people to go live there or fake living there. But that's only the thing you can do when you're like above 2 million, 3 million in actual savings.
That kind of reminds me of Hong Kong, of people who save up and try to buy property here, and then they just tell me the numbers of it, and I'm just like, that's fucking ridiculous. And then I hear the news about like property values changing or whatever, and I just try to imagine like what it would be like to spend so many years to like save up to try to like buy your own property, and then to just have the fucking market shift. Let alone some. Yeah, like let alone some bullshit like some like neck-bearded millennial communist being like, property is theft. I read it in a French book and it's smart. Property is theft and we're gonna eat the rich. Like I just like that seems so fucking infuriating.
By the way, Derek, you want to stream this video? It's about. It's not anything important, really, so you don't have to. But it's apparently like Antifa members are just freaking out.
Yeah, we'll go ahead. I mean, things are kind of
Antifa is
winding
not
down.
part of this.
Well, that's what the title is. It says
Okay,
Unhinged.
well,
This
play
is
it,
what
please.
Antifa members are like.
I really
I
want
don't
to
know.
watch
She
it.
looks Antifa to me, but we'll see.
Sorry, I'm
The link is
really
there.
sorry. I apologize.
It's on
I
a
think-
TikTok.
you.
Yeah,
fucking
my-
video.
I
it's
didn't
from-
mean to. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to say that you said that you were Antifa. Like, I'm really sorry.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't say that. He would never.
I know
say
that. I know that. I know that. I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry.
But
I was wrong.
Antifa is. I honestly though, I
Please
blame
play it. Please
anybody
play it.
who's not an anarcho-capitalist
Play it,
to
yeah.
me is Antifa.
With his butch lesbian fucking troglodyte.
Oh, this is good. This
screaming.
ties into our lesbian question theme, which is a reoccurring theme, which I think not enough people are talking about. Everybody's blaming the Freemasons or the Jews, and I say, hey, wait a minute. We need to talk about the lesbians. And someday
this
Black
one-
Knight Fool is gonna hop on here and like really
Oh,
help us
hopefully.
spell it all out.
He
I
needs
hope
to.
so.
He needs to stop being a pussy.
He needs to
Black
stop
Knight,
being a
if you
fucking
hear this,
pussy.
fuck on here.
Yeah, this
But,
is an
this
insult.
reminds me.
to-
Did
yeah.
you have the emotional intelligence thing yet? Like,
Oh, I do have a couple of things. Yeah, and emotional intelligence highlights. Let me. I'll
you
pull that up
you cannot
afterwards.
finish a stream before you do that. That's,
Of course,
that's like trademark.
Of course. That's part of the thing. I was gonna make the COVID solidarity group part of like a reoccurring theme. I did find a couple of funny things that were like relevant to that, but I don't know if I want to get into that. But we'll watch this video as soon as I get the margins right. The stream probably looks really retarded right now of me trying to like make these crops look decent. Okay. This is good cropping. I did a good job, if I do say so myself. And I'll make it bigger. Okay, from Eel Miles Strong. Me and him are friends on Facebook. Unless he's one of the people who unfriended me for one of my drunken
You're friends with
rants.
like 6,000 people on Facebook.
You're only
That
allowed to
doesn't
have
mean a lot.
5,000, but I have 2 accounts. So yes, I have like over that.
Yeah, and your fake woman Chinese account like
That's
doesn't
right.
count.
The best part is even on that account where my name is in Chinese, so like the femalization of it isn't obvious, and the profile picture is like totally like abstract. I still get messages from like Indian men being like, "You're so beautiful," and it's like, this is a stock image with like the back of a woman's head and some lights behind it. Like,
But did you send them Bob and Virgin?
You should just show them your hairy asshole or something.
yeah, there we go. How do you know my asshole is hairy? What if
I don't know. I always just imagined you having
You
a
just
hairy
imagine.
asshole.
That's just what you imagine. Is that a hairy
Yeah.
asshole?
Educated guess.
It's just an
Yeah, I mean
educated
sometimes
guess,
that's the
you
better
know.
option.
You know. On that
Ew,
note,
I'm
let's
personally offended.
look
by
at this
this.
screaming lesbian.
He's been my best friend for 10 years.
Yeah, she knows the asshole is not hairy. It's well maintained.
I mean, I don't know that.
I shave
Because-
the ass before I shave the face.
As it should be.
It's good to have priorities.
Right.
Also,
Also,
we were back.
That's an essential service.
I don't know why this is
I'll be back.
muted. I don't know why
I
it's
can't
not
believe you're
playing
talking
the sound.
horribly about my life partner.
Here we go.
It's just how I talk.
What is this?
Wait, is the audio not working?
It's just quiet. I don't know why.
What the fuck? I don't know. Like apparently. Trump. See, the audio was working when I played it, and I heard all the screaming.
No, it's playing on mine, and it's at full. It's just for some reason the audio's low, like in this window or something. But that's just a guy screaming 2020 with he has a water bottle by his dick, and then the screaming lesbian comes up to him like a little bird and just starts squawking at him. It seems like the funny part about it is they're both just like screaming and being loud, but like nothing is happening otherwise. People are just sitting around, like all around them, like yeah, whatever. It
I
almost
just
looks
think
like
it's funny.
performance art. I think it's performance art. That's my theory of this. I like it. I think they look cute together. I wish the best for them.
Can I say, I was at Dan's the other day and we were watching this thing where it was like artistic interpretation of Marina Abramovic. So I like looked up her shit on Wikipedia and
She's
all of her things
fascinating.
sound like really interesting. Yeah, they're so cool.
Yeah, she's totally fascinating. I stand
Yeah, she
for
sounds
her.
amazing.
Yeah, I'm really sad that she got
gotta
roped into the
say.
whole Pizzagate thing because I'm sitting here like I honestly think she was just like an eccentric artist who just like all of the fucking weirdos just like gravitated towards her, you know? Like I think she's innocent.
Okay, so I do agree that all of her shit is amazing and I want to like look into it further, but Pizzagate's also real.
Yeah,
like,
no, exactly. Yeah, 1000% the same thing. I think some of her shit's like stupid or whatever, but like that's fine. That just
like
comes
which
with the
which
territory.
one? Like all of them seemed really interesting.
Okay,
to me.
like rest energy is kind of stupid because even if the fucker let go, that arrow isn't gonna do any damage, and she makes this
it's
dramatic
still
thing
interesting
about
from
it.
like a perspective of like performative art.
Yeah,
I
well,
think.
the
I don't know.
yeah, the statement is interesting. The statement is kind of cool.
I thought it would be dumb and like I don't know. I was wrong. I really was really interested in the entire like perspectives and like things of her performative art. Like I didn't think that would be a thing for me, but
yeah,
well,
it's like this. It's like I remember some years back, Paul Joseph Watson did a video on modern art, right? And like I was like listening to it and I'm just like, you don't get modern art. Like it's not just random and stupid. Like yeah, it's prone to grifters. It's prone to people jumping in there and just doing random stupid shit. But like some of it's really fucking cool. Like you can make abstract stuff that looks really awesome and you can do things that are like in modern art that actually do make a statement and are really awesome. But he's, you know, Paul Joseph Watson is like, sometimes he's as dumb as he is pretty.
He does have like luscious lips, though.
He's too pretty. That's the problem. If he were less pretty, he would get modern art. He just looks at every piece of modern art and he's like, how come this isn't a photo of me? This isn't beautiful. But yeah. I wonder if Ian Malstrong is still friends with me on Facebook. I don't know why it matters. I don't talk to him, but still. What else? If there was something else on my mind, but I don't remember it. Oh, I was gonna make fun of you guys for sitting down and watching something. I said you guys should watch fucking Snowpiercer.
Want to smoke drink?
I am back. What did I miss?
Oh, we just watched this silly video of these people yelling at each other at a protest or something.
I just find it funny how easy it is to just trigger people just by being like, just wearing a Trump hat. Like I know that's like so 2016, like, but I still find it funny.
It isn't though. Like
it is.
People want to be triggered.
It would be, but they're doing it as like a specific, like this means this to me.
People want to be triggered. They're looking for a reason to